Welcome back to the Fast Life Podcast, folks. I'm back. We're back. Got another one for you. I'm excited to have this guest on today. He's a good friend of mine. Amazing fabricator, amazing airbrush artist, amazing just dude. He just creates. He's a creator, of sorts. The old school kind, like the ones that actually create things you can hold with your hands and not just a content creator like we are now, I guess. But super excited to have him on. I tried to get him on when we first started this podcast. I guess he was a little hesitant, but now that he's listened to him and he's warmed up to it, I'm excited to have him on. So also excited about this weekend. Me and some of the Anvil boys are going to be rolling down to Nitty Gritty Chopper City to catch all the Houston folks. So if you're going to be down at that show, man, I'm looking forward to hanging out. We're going to be camping there Saturday night. We're going to roll down Friday evening after work, probably catch a hotel. So, and then just kind of party amongst ourselves and then looking to mingle on Saturday. So, if you're going to be out there, I hope that we can link up and have a good time together. Also, another thing I saw pop up on Instagram or Facebook, can't remember, is the Easy Rider show. It's coming back to Texas. I'm really excited about this. You know what I mean? Because that show, it bridges a gap between a culture, I think, in the motorcycle world that is not quite on podcasts or Instagram or whatnot. So I'm really excited what that brings, and I'm hoping that we get the opportunity to work with Easy Rider or just all the people involved. I know that homeboy down there and fucking, I don't know. Anyway, I'm just excited about it. And I hope you guys are putting it on your radar. I want to say it's mid-January, so I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's going to inspire some change around here. Get some real shows going. Not that Giddy Up and Nitty Gritty and Southern Throttle aren't amazing shows, but it's different. It's all vintage chopper stuff, and there needs to be more things that are less exclusive. Even though I love these exclusive shows, we need to have bigger ones that are kind of more inclusive, I guess is the word, right? So anyway, I'm excited for that. Excited for all the things coming up. Anyway, I want to get quickly into our sponsors, man. I hope you guys are tapping into this deal with D&D pipes, right? Exhaust. I can't stress enough how great of a deal this is, especially if you're a veteran. So, like I said, just to bring this back to the table, military veterans or current military, I don't really know how that works, but 20% off, man. That's a fucking huge margin. So 20% off for military veterans is, you got to call in 844-D&D pipe, proof of your service. Let them know you heard about them on the podcast. And I mean, you're getting a great deal on some of the highest quality pipes on the market, right? That's really good, man. And those pipes are performing and putting the numbers down. Rusty's a great dude. You can always go back and check out the podcast with Rusty and see what his company is about and what he's about. And I mean, you really can't beat that. So I would check it out. Go to their website. What is it? Hold on one second. I want to make sure I get this right because it is a tongue twister. It's the word and exhaust.com. You can check out their website. Like I said, you can order online. There's also going to be a place where you can put in an offer code for the Fast Life Garage, but the offer, it's not it's the Fast Life Podcast. Sorry, I'm lost right now. The offer code is Fast Life, one word. Put that in. It's going to show D&D that this podcast is reaching people, reaching customers, and it keeps us all doing business together. So check that out. Like I said, the military veterans themselves, you're going to get a 20% discount, which is an awesome thing. You can also check them out on Facebook and Instagram at the letter N, exhaust. And once again, make the phone call, 844-D&D pipe. You're going to actually talk to a human, which is pretty rare these days. So enjoy that, call them, hit them up, and all that good stuff. So I also want to thank my boy Mark at Texas Performance MC. You can check out their website at texasperformancemc.com as well as Texas Performance MC on Instagram. Really cool thing is I believe it's Mark's birthday this weekend. So, if I don't do another podcast prior to this weekend, I want to say happy birthday, buddy. If not, I'm expecting you to be in Houston with us to party. I don't know how you're going to party with your sober ass, but we'll drink for you. That's for damn sure. But at any rate, maybe you should stop in the shop, see Mark this week, tell him happy birthday, tell him Jay said so. You know what I mean? Or just go by and see the shop, man. Go see what he's up to, see what he's doing, schedule some service or some maintenance work on your bike. Check him out. Cedar Park, Texas, right next to one of the greatest roads in Texas to ride on, 1431. I can't stress enough how badass that road is. So, make a road trip. Go check him out. Hang out in in the Austin, Texas, and surrounding cities, and have a good time. Also, don't forget to check him out on Instagram. Once again, Texas Performance MC, as well as online with that .com on the end of that. I also want to thank my boy Brian from Paint Huffer Metal Flake. You can check them out on Instagram, Paint Huffer Metal Flake on IG. If you want to order some flakes and pearls and flakes again and tape and House of Color products and probably some more coming too, you can check out their website at painthuffer.com. They're doing a lot of great stuff. And he texted me this weekend talking some stuff I like to hear. So I'm excited about it, but I'm not going to talk about it till later on. But anyway, like I said, you can always find some really, really talented painters on there. If you're a shop looking for a painter, you can go to painthuffer.com or Paint Huffer Metal Flake and check out a lot of array of really talented artists. And if you're a painter or a shop that paints or whatever, and you want to get some products that make your shit look cooler, then that's definitely where to go. So at any rate, give him a shout. Make sure you mention that you heard about it on the podcast. Maybe he'll give you a high five. I don't know. We'll see how he does that. But anyway, thank you, Brian. Painthuffer.com, Paint Huffer Metal Flake on Instagram. I also want to thank the dudes up at Horsepower Inc. in Indianapolis. They're always doing big things. Apparently, that's all they know how to do up there is big motors. So I'm excited for those guys, man. I'm really excited to see, the new opportunities coming along with them and how they're going to grow this new shop and this bigger venture, I guess they're embarking on. So you can always go up and check them out at horsepowerinc.net. You can also check them out on Instagram at Horsepower Inc. and Horsepower Inc. Indy on Facebook. You can check out all the stuff they got going on. I know they're a full dyno tuning and performance V-twin shop in the Indianapolis area. So you really can't beat it, man. Just go check them out. You Chicagoians and Michiganians or whatever you call it. You just motherfuckers up there need to go check out Horsepower Inc. You can also go on their website, which I already gave you. I'll give it to you again. horsepowerinc.net. And they got a lot of cool shirts. They've been really ramping up the swag game, so you can check that out as well and have a good time with all that stuff. But the main thing that you need to be trying to get from them, especially if you're on a fuel injected motorcycle, is the throttle bodies. Those things are making wonders to just basic bolt-ons. Your air cleaner cam and a pipe. You throw a throttle body on there, and next thing you know, you actually are getting some more wonders out of your shit. You pair that up with a big bore kit, fucking head work and some tuning, and man, like you're gonna be pretty cool. That's all I'm gonna say. It's gonna be pretty cool. So check all those guys out, Jimmy and the guys at Horsepower Inc. in Indianapolis. Thank you guys. I also want to thank all our Patreon supporters for this podcast, all of our Instagram followers or whatever you want to call those guys. Thank all you guys for checking us out, man. We're really trying to grow it, and I think it's doing it. Also, I wanted to bring this up, man. If you listen to my personal podcast where I was talking about my life, which was super strange, but anyway, I had a friend that I talked about on there. His name was Brandon. He did a lot of military contracts. He kind of grew up in the armed forces, I guess is the correct term. I'm really ignorant when it comes to a lot of that stuff, but I wanted to have him on here. I was thinking about it this weekend. Went and saw him and stuff, and I was like, man, like he used to tell me so amazing stories from just all his work overseas through the contracts and his deployments when he was actually with the military and things. And I thought it'd be cool to do a podcast with him, just kind of talking about that shit, man. Like, there might be a little bike talk in there, but I don't know, man. Like I think that his stories are great, so I think I'm gonna try to do that. So hopefully, guys, you guys can appreciate just some travel and cultural talk on this podcast. I'm not gonna bore you with it too much, but hopefully that you do enjoy it, and if not, you don't have to listen. So if you do dig it, I think it's awesome. So anyway, really looking forward to that. But this episode is Chad Mahone. He's a local painter here in Texas, Dallas Fort Worth to be exact, and it's so crazy because I'm jealous of this guy, right? He's phenomenal, like metal shaper, right? Like can build shit out of metal that's just retarded, but he really likes to airbrush. And it's like, dude, like airbrushing's gay, man. Like you do some crazy shit with metalwork, and he's just like, he downplays it so much, and it's crazy, but it's also awesome. But it's also awesome to talk to someone with a very creative mind like his, and I'm sure you're gonna enjoy this. So without further ado, my buddy Chad Mahone.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
Fast Life Podcast.
Yeah, you can definitely get lost in here. Well, shit, yeah, that's what I was talking about is being someone that's heavy into music I used to be. I don't feel like I am anymore. It's a weird deal.
Really?
Like, that was one of the things I think me and you kind of connected on pretty good is that we both was into Tool. Hell, we went
Very
to that
much.
fucking, that Toology cover band concert.
That was awesome.
Dude, speaking on that, in my life, okay, I got a DWI in 16, right? Mm-hmm. And it was probably a couple months after we went to that deal.
Oh, God.
But that night we left that place, I should have got a DWI that night because I was so fucked up that we were going down the highway. We didn't even get all the way home, and I stopped the car and said, Britta, you got to drive. I'm looking out of one eye.
Ooh.
And we made it. We made it home, or I made it the distance I was going, but, it definitely should have been that night. But then I get in trouble doing I haven't drank in an hour and a half. I'm still at the bar, but I'm waiting on my buddy.
Right.
And then we go home and I get pulled over.
Yeah, it was right before your honeymoon or anniversary or
the night. That morning,
no.
we had a flight at 7 a.m., so we thought it'd be cool to stay out to the bar till 1.
Well, yeah, you're going to party, celebrate.
But yeah, but that's the weird thing is until podcast came along, it's for us artists and we were trying to find some type of creativity, you would be looking to music to get you in a zone or a mode. And I remember when I first got into like Tool and some of the 90s grunge and some of that more think music, I guess you'd say.
Right.
Which I don't even know if you could put Tool is a think music kind of thing, and then maybe Nirvana and Alice in Chains and all that stuff was more just a vibe.
Like a mood. It puts you in a mood. I always looked at Tool, especially. I guess Lateralis was the one that came out that really stuck me. And you always heard all the other stuff, but when that album came out, that really grabbed me. It was just kind of like the glue. And I remember sitting in the garage and back when I was just airbrushing, just playing around with it, trying to figure it out. I would just sit there and be so inspired by that album, and I would just play it over and over and over and over. But and then, of course, a little bit later after that, 10,000 Days, and it just went from there. And it was funny because at the same time, I always liked A Perfect Circle, and I didn't know. I didn't even
realize A Perfect Circle was a Maynard.
I didn't either.
I kept telling this is literally what happened. It was years after I was listening to Tool. Yep. And I didn't realize at this point in my life that bands, usually lead singers and other people in bands, also had other projects.
Other gigs, yeah.
So everybody would go I'd say, hey man, I really like Tool. What do you like? Or we'd be talking about it and they go, oh, I like A Perfect Circle too. I'm like, why the fuck are you bringing up A Perfect Circle? Why are we talking about that?
Right.
I brought up Tool,
Yeah, they're just, because it's the same guy. And, it's funny you said that because I started, I would listen to A Perfect Circle and 13th Step. And that was, matter of fact, 13th Step was the one that grabbed me. And then I went back to
Magdalena or I know what you're talking about.
And then they had a couple of, I don't remember what the names of the albums were, but they were the remix albums pretty much, or cover band, cover songs. And me and, at the time she was my girlfriend, we watched Underworld. And I was like, man, there was a song in there and I could not figure out who it was. And I kept listening for it. And it was, I can't think of the name of the song of it, but finally found it. And it was a band called Pussifer. I was like, cool, man. I like that. So I started listening to a couple of songs. They were real low key. Come to find out that was Maynard. Yeah. And I was like, what? It's like, no, it's 3. I didn't realize. But so that really just really enforced, the glue of Tool was more of his, it seemed like it was more of his, It
was a creative, it was more of a collaborative creative situation where, him and Adam and Danny and the other people in the band really put so much effort into creating their art. And then Tool was kind of, Pussifer was kind of like the shit that didn't fit in with Perfect Circle and stuff.
Completely, it took
me a while.
Side. It was his wacky side.
Yeah, it took me a while to get into it, but it took me a couple of years. And I was tribalism at its best, right? I'm a Tool fan. Yep. I'm a Maynard fan. So if he did a rap album, I was like, am I supposed to like this?
Right. I'm supposed. Yep. Yeah. And that's what I always tell people that don't really know, that or don't understand that that's all the same singer, the same person is Tool's again his more of the spiritual philosophy, and then I always considered Perfect Circle more of his romantic side, and then Pussifer's just his porn side, it's just goofy, wacky,
That's what you jerk off to.
I mean, yeah, it's just goofy, but there's just something about it. It's a nice change, it's from one end of the spectrum to the other, and it's good to hear him, or it's good to hear music like that, you know, from the same person.
I've seen live I've seen Pussifer live, Perfect Circle live, and Tool live. I've seen Tool many times.
Yes.
But I was not fortunate enough to see Tool in the era of like the early 2000s, late 90s,
Sober.
when he put so much energy into his performances. Like I got to see him where he stopped screaming like halfway through the note and then let the guitar and the drums take over. But I don't know, man. It like that was a very like trend. Like that was something I needed when I figured out I knew how to airbrush. So I needed something that kind of put me in a creative place.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And to be honest with you, I really don't remember playing around with paints and just experimenting and stuff before that album. For whatever reason, it's burned this memory into my brain of me just sitting there in the garage just over and over and over. Just it's almost like a madman.
You know? Okay, so on that note, so are you saying like basically like when you hear a certain song, it puts you back in that garage that night, like that situation? 'Cause
every time.
This is completely not a think band kind of thing, but Modest Mouse does that to me. So when
in that era,
yeah. So Modest Mouse, like when Modest Mouse first came, or when it first came into my radar, was Good News for People That Love Bad News. It was 04. It was like one of their most popular. This is when they broke mainstream, right? And they had like all these great songs on there. And to this day, I still listen to it. And I just remember I was in Haslett, Texas, North Fort Worth, working out of a shop of a 10 by 10 office, like, you know, like those little strip mall shops where you walk in, they got a 10 by 10 office and then a shop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that was my paint booth, this little 10 by 10 office, and I was painting sport bikes in there. And I just remember being there and being like putting headphones on and listening to that Modest Mouse album. And now, even to this day, like if I like catch that song, like if it's coming on a playlist, or no matter what, it puts me back in there mentally. Like I'm thinking about that time. I'm like, fuck, man. Like it's
weird. It's like a rush almost. It's almost like a flood, you know, just a flood of, and I say emotion, but not to be, you know, weak or anything like that. But it's just, it puts you back in that place. You're talking about Modest Mouse. That was the same time for me. I remember it puts me back into a shop that I was working at. And, that's when the 13th Step album was, you know, up and going. And that's, that whole, I think, I don't know, for whatever reason, it's inspiring still to this day, those albums, you know?
Yeah, it's almost weird. Like I was telling, we were talking about before that we started recording. It's like how, it's like all the bands that I really, really, really love. Like I mean, trust me, I grew up on rap, so there's I still like some hardcore rap albums and shit like that. But of course, it's not the same experience listening to, you know, Do or Die, talking about pimping, pimping. You know what I mean? It's not the same concept.
Yeah, it may get you motivated, but it's not going to get you inspired.
Yeah,
you know, it's my wife will come home and I'm sitting there and I'm listening to, you know, she calls it screamo. I don't know what they're saying, you know, and.
What was it? Okay,
but it's aggressive.
Yeah,
it's aggressive. You know,
so,
if I'm doing mud work, or if I'm doing something that I really don't necessarily want to do, if I'm grinding or welding or something, I'll listen to something that's aggressive and motivating, as far as, because I don't want to do that. You know, it's.
Well, you know, I remember, this is how much of a nerd I am on Tool. So at one point in time, right after the 10,000 Days album came out, which is around 2006. One of those guitar magazines, which I never ever fucking buy, did a whole album or a whole magazine on Tool. And I just happened to be at Walmart at the right time and picked it up. And this is also like 06, 07, 08, when magazines were still a lot more prevalent. And I got it, and I fucking literally read it cover to cover, because at the same time, I was trying to find myself as an artist, like trying to figure out, and not as a custom paint artist, but just an artist.
Where's your place?
Yeah. Like now, next thing you know, I'm reading a whole, I know about Alex Gray. I know about, you know, what's his name? There's another artist. It's a visionary artist like Alex Gray is, from Austin, who is an airbrush guy, actually. And I'm going to have to find...
I was going to say Chet Zar, but he's not Austin.
No. There's a dude down there does brilliant airbrush work paintings. It's like, fuck, I'm going to have to look at... We have no service here. We're in Narnia right now, so I'm not going to be able to pull that up. But I will text you that, or maybe bring it up later. But no, just listening to... just reading that thing, and then... back to my point. It said that they were talking about the dynamics of like Tool or Maynard's lyrics or his vocals, and then Danny's drumming, and you know, all this, that, and the other. And they said that if you you can listen to them two ways or more or less. And it's like, you can listen to them like verbally, or you can listen to them like Maynard is also a fucking instrument.
Exactly.
He's a sound coming from the deal. And that's almost like how you can listen to rock music in a sense, like where, you know what, I'm not looking to hear, you know, a rhyme or a verse or a bar. I'm looking for more of something to put me in a transcendental state.
The full experience. It's all got to come together. And that's the way I feel like with Danny Carey. I mean, all of those, you could separate each one of those instruments to me, and I'm not a
and they'll be great.
They'll be great. I mean, they could sit in a shed somewhere and play, and they would just you could get down with it, whether it be the vocals, the bass. You know, it's just that's the way it all works. Me.
So around that time was when you were kind of listening to that. Like when, like I know, like it's funny because like I look at like I'm so fascinated with your fabrication side of your talent base.
Appreciate it, man.
But I've always, since the moment we've been friends, like I felt like you've always been way more pushing your airbrush side of it.
I have. It's, again, going back, you know, I mean, I always played with it, you know, and always but I never was serious. I never really, it was just something to where, you know, just kind of filled the time, I guess, you know, and people would come to me and, hey man, I want this race car painted, you know, I'd paint a race car, paint a helmet, you know, this, that, and the other, but I never really got serious until about 2 years ago. And that's when I really started focusing and really starting to appreciate it for what it was and what it is and what I could do with it. You know, I learn something all the time.
Yeah, sure.
I'm nowhere near, you know, all the other artists out there. But again, I haven't really focused on it until the last couple of years. But you know, and again, I still have a love and passion for the fabricating, you know, and just the sculpting, and I mean, I don't.
Where did the fabrication start? Like, like okay, so take me back to like maybe, like I know you've been in the paint business and the car business for a long fucking time. So where did you start kind of like pigeonholing yourself into certain areas of it?
Well, believe it, I guess I believe it was probably. Straight out of high school, I worked at a automotive shop, and I worked there for about 2 or 3 years. Got some ASC certifications. You know, everything was going good, and this is what I wanted to do. I've always been a car guy.
Yeah.
And always like, you know, fixing problems and figuring out, you know, issues. And that particular owner of that shop, he opened up a shop right next door, which was a body shop, and it was ran by a family member, and you know, I guess you would call it a son-in-law, and he. You know, I guess he lost interest in it, and he kind of bailed out and didn't want to, you know, really run it anymore. One of the other managers there, they had a car come in and said the guy wanted some flames on it. And me being at the other shop, I was always, you know, I feel like I was still in school. I was supposed to be doing my work, but I wasn't. I was drawing and painting pictures and crap, you know.
So in high school, were you like an artist per se, or was that something that evolved? How did the art involved? I guess I'm loading you down with questions.
No. That's good. That's good. Yeah, no, we can bounce back all because there's really no timeline, I guess.
Yeah.
My earliest recollection, when I was probably about 4 or 5, I would sit in the living room floor, and my mom had bought me a Dr. Seuss books, and I would just sit there and I would just trace them. And I don't know why. I mean, it wasn't. I did
the same thing with like Spider-Man, like in comics when I was a kid. I was like. It was so crazy. I like trace it on a piece of paper because I learned how to trace I learned how to use tracing paper and then transfer it to regular paper, and I just detail it and shade it and go to school the next day like, I drew this.
Yeah, I drew this. Yeah. and yeah, I mean, pretty much I would do that. And then of course, for whatever reason, I just picked up on it. I just stayed with it. I guess they motivated me, and they, you know, supported it or whatever and pushed it. And, you know, elementary school came around, and then second, third, and that's all I ever did was I draw. I mean, I didn't care about the subjects, you know. You give me a test paper, you're going to get some crazy drawing on it back. You know, I'm not going to fill out the answers. Yeah. But that's what I was always do. I would even fail classes because I would even do a test, you know, and I'd get everything, you know, when I'm finished with it, but I would draw something around the border of the paper, and the teacher would always give me a 0 because I was making the paper, you know, other than the test. So, but anyway, I don't know.
And this paper looks way better than you handed it to.
Yeah, I mean, it's like so. But I guess an outside source inspiration would probably be around 87, 88 era. I was 9 years old, 8, 7. Predator came out, and it was just a VHS that was supposed to be, turned back into a rental place and never got turned back in.
Yeah.
So we kept it, and I would sit there all summer long and just watch Predator over and over and over, and Predator. And then it went from Predator to Aliens, and I would go in my room, man. After that, I would just sit there and just draw Predator over and over and over. And I think that's really what got me going with the art side of it, because then I was old enough then to appreciate it and be proud of what I was doing and realize what kind of impact I was making on the family. And, I don't know if they were just doing that because I was their son. But, and again, like you said, take it to school. Look what I did. And
I can imagine, like, if you're taking, like, some H.R. Geiger type inspired artwork down to school, it's probably
exactly what it was,
Yeah, we need to call a parent-teacher conference. Your son's drawing babies dead with dicks coming out of their mouths and shit.
Dude, and I didn't know, at that time, my age, I didn't realize what that was doing, or how that could have looked. And I would do that, man. And I would take, Predator with heads cut off and spinal cords, but to me it was art. Yeah, I didn't think it was offensive or
jumping forward now and you look at the welding sculptures you made have always had that Geiger-esque kind of
steampunk kind of biomechanical, organic but machine type. That's what I like to do. He's inspired me a lot with that, that sort of aspect.
He's definitely the most famous airbrush artist to ever live. That's for sure.
Yeah.
He's the one that broke through mainstream media, I guess you'd say.
Man, he was so far beyond his time. I mean, like when Alien came out, I was just talking about it the other night with somebody. Alien came out in '79, and people were just, it was way beyond what any other kind of horror flick or sci-fi flick, it was just, nobody had ever seen anything like that before, and you got this guy, from
Germany, wasn't it?
Switzerland, I believe it's
one of those weird ass countries.
Yeah. And I watched a little small documentary on him, and he said that it was his dreams. Everything's, if you look at his artwork, it's all, pipes and, just all this, just weird hoses and lines, and just everything is real worm-like. And that's what he would say. He said he dreamed about worms. That was his nightmares. It was worms. And so he would get back up and he would draw like the segments in like an earthworm and stuff like that. If you look at his artwork, a lot of that's got the, almost like a corrugated, style pattern to it. But and then, of course, I'm sure he had a little bit of a sexual side to him, obviously. But, but that's what made him.
Then he started jerking off, and then he started.
Yeah. But, that's what he's famous for. I mean, nobody had ever seen anything like that,
I think that's, maybe it's probably really cool that, like, in that era, you could, looking at like H.R. Geiger and when he came up, it's like it was easy for him to stay true to his art form because he probably didn't have as much influence as, like, I think that us and a lot of artists nowadays are constantly bombarded with influence. Like, it's almost hard to enjoy your own art when you're so immersed with the art from everybody across the world. So it's like as soon as you're like, fuck, this is it, and then you go on Instagram or Facebook or anything and you see this and you're almost like comparing it, which is probably, it's good but it's bad. And then next thing you know, you never quite keep investing into yourself enough.
You're exactly right, and that's actually kind of impressive for him because he didn't have Instagram and YouTube and Google and nothing like that, and he was just drawing what's out of his mind. So he was just kind of going out on a whim saying, I hope you like my stuff, and he didn't have no competition, so people were either going to like it or hate it, and he just had to kind of deal with that. With us, on the other hand, and I find myself doing that too, I get these creative blocks. I get in a slump where I'm doing a job I really don't want to do. First thing I do is I'm going to go to Instagram, and I'm going to look at other people's work, and I'm looking for that inspiration, it's just, and I'll, like your stuff, there was a picture I saved of your stuff, and it's just, I think it was a true fire that you had done. It was on a red and yellow bike, and I was doing some fire. And I'm just trying to get in that mode. I just couldn't find it. Man, I was, going back to the music. I was playing different music. But I would take that, and for some reason, I could go in and I could look at people's pictures and just doing all their different styles and and I'm still looking and searching for my own style, and I want to put my own creativity. But now I realize that even though I am looking for inspiration, if for some reason it's more of a just a jump start. It's just a kick, because all of a sudden, like, I can look at people's work and then bam, I know exactly what I'm gonna do now.
Yeah.
And I think that's good in a sense, as long as you're not copying somebody's work, obviously, but use that for inspiration. You know what I mean? Use that and just, I mean, you never know. I mean, all of a sudden, bam, it's there. It hits you, and you just.
I do today, to this very day. Like, I do the same thing. Like, I will, when I'm finding
and go back and reference while you're doing it.
I'll find, like, I have my friends or just people that I follow in the paint industry that I'm very influenced by, and I'll look at their work, and it's like, I don't need their work to show me how to paint my bike. I need to see a line go across the tank at a certain direction. I need to see.
I do that with color sometimes.
Yeah, with color, same thing. There's lots of ways I find color inspiration, and but I also have a huge problem with. I don't even know if it's my problem. I think it's my customer's problem. Like, they see a color combination they enjoy, and all they want is that. And it's almost like awesome, because I get to fully explore every option of that color combination. But then it's also like the one thing that makes that we're in this industry, because we don't do well with conformity and assembly line type processes. But next thing you know, you find yourself doing, like, hey, I got to do 8 helmets with black, silver, gray, and silver leaf.
Right.
How many fucking different ways can I do this, dude? And so, like, I was talking to somebody else, like, man, I really like a black and silver. I was like, dude, I'll do anything you want as long as we do some color in it. Just give me some color.
Just one color. Just give me one to throw in there.
It's like what everybody always asks. It's like, hey, dude, what's your favorite color? Like, dude, it changes. It's a mood ring thing, dude. Like, one week I'm like all about purple, and next week I'm all about fucking,
Like, I'm not big on red. I'm not, but I think red's it has to be on certain things,
Yeah.
It just. I don't know, but I feel exactly what you're talking about. It's just sometimes you get a customer. I just recently painted a bike for a customer.
I saw that bagger you did.
Yeah, man, he sent me it looked like a screenshot of a Rolls Royce, and they'd done it out in, I guess, California somewhere, and it was wrapped, and it was a mint green and a candy purple. And he's like, hey, can you match this? I'm like, I'm sure I can, and I wasn't. When I first saw the colors, I was like, no, I didn't want to. But then I got to really looking at it. Now I'm kind of involved. I'm trying to figure out what colors I can, come up with, how I can mix it to make it match. And now it was more of a challenge. So that really got me motivated on that color, because I was just going to try to talk him out of it. I was going to talk him into a different color. So I did end up finding some colors that would match, and a couple of little things I had to tweak to really get it to go. But that's what made that fun. It was the challenge. And then that's when I really started liking the colors. I mean, again, that goes back to, you're either gonna hate it or you're gonna love it. There's not gonna be any in between on a bike like that.
Yeah.
And then he had mentioned that his name was on the street was Tony Stark's. I'm like, oh, how am I gonna do that?
His bike should have been fucking candy red and candy gold. What the fuck?
I know, and that was the whole thing that I was kind of juggling. And he said, "Man, don't worry about it, man. Just don't worry about it. Just put a portrait of him on there, and then try to make it work out." I'm like, okay, so I did. I ended up putting a portrait of him on the back, and I was trying to make things work with it. And then I don't know. It just kind of went from one thing to. I didn't really have a plan with it. I just went. I wanted to not make it too wild, just two-tone and be done with it, but. Man, people seem to love it, and I was surprised that people, like, it was a bright bike. It was pretty bold. So, but definitely not my first choice of colors. But I'm actually surprised on how it turned out.
I'm gonna go pee real quick,
okay,
and then we're gonna get back to. Yeah. So what I was wondering, or I guess to get back on topic is it's all on topic, but get back to the actual general question was. So you went from, being inspired by like the pop culture movies like Alien, Predator, and that kind of a more biomechanical style. And then when you started working you said you were like doing tech work, like as far as like mechanic type shit?
Yeah. I was doing, diagnosing, cars, and I did some heavy line stuff, removing engines and reinstalling them. A lot of front end work, a lot of alignments, things like that. So, again, I was only 18, 19 at the time, so I was just kind of getting my foot in the door. But yeah, and going back, from there, I went to the body shop. Actually, the customer wanted some flames on a Honda Civic. And I was like, okay, well, you know, they called me over there and said, hey, you think you can do that? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I guess.
And we didn't have like YouTube back in the day.
No, nothing like that, man. It just, you know, back then, during that era, the person who really inspired me, and he was painting some friends of mine's cars and trucks at the time, was Joe Martin. I didn't really know who he was at the time, but one time we went to his house, and man, he had just, you know, his whole shop was full of bikes, and he was painting them, and so that's really what inspired me to what airbrush was. You know, this is what you can do with, you know, with your art, with your talent. So I went to a little hobby shop and bought a, you know, cheap Badger airbrush and you know, a little cheap gun. I didn't know what to do. I just, you know, was just kind of going by hearsay, and actually the flames didn't turn out half bad, you know. So but that really grabbed me. It's like, man, this is kind of cool. So needless to say, there was another car that came through. They wanted a two-tone with a little simple graphic down the side. And I would just roll in my tool cart from one shop to the next. It was the same parking lot. You know, I was going back and forth, and finally it just stayed over there in the body shop, and that's what I did. Yeah. It kind of went from custom paint jobs to just, you know, and that's where I really started learning about, you know, pulling frames and you know, all the boring stuff, you know, the Bondo and replacing quarter panels. That's where the welding came in. You know, when going back in and welding quarter panels and front clips and stuff like that, that's where I started learning the welding aspect of what I do now. And of course, it was just a body shop, and it was just rough, and you know, you go in there and grind it and
make it pretty.
I eventually I did that for about 3 or 4 years, and then during that time, again, Joe Martin was still big. This was before the TV shows. This was before any of that stuff. He was kind of like the local, you know, custom guy.
Hero.
Yeah. And so we would still go over there and kind of hang out every now and then and look at some of the stuff he did. And about that time is when he moved over to the shop off of 67. That's when the whole big show thing started, you know, happening. Shortly after that, he moved, and or from what I remember, he moved to another shop, and then one thing led to another. He's in Austin. Yeah. When he shut that shop down, another guy, I was still working at the body shop, another guy came to me, and he was like, hey, man, we're thinking about starting up a bike shop. You know, would you like to be involved? I'm like, man, I don't know. You know, this guy, I heard rumors about him, and, you know, he's this and he's that, and, you know, don't mess with him. So, stupid me. Hell yeah. So, you know, he did his work. He did his homework. He got a shop out in Deep Ellum, kind of got in with another guy that was actually doing vinyl wraps and stuff on cars back in the day. He rented us a little space out of their shop that they had off of, I guess it was Main and Hall Street. Worked out of there for a little bit, grew out of that, went down to another shop off of Commerce. And that's really where we started kind of getting some things rolling. And I think I'm going in circles here. I'm losing my timeline. But,
yeah, so you were in Deep Ellum, and I remember that shop. You were down there with that one. And then you basically got to the point where you were at House of Hot Rods, which I don't know if they're big anymore, but there was a point in time where that was like one of the big places here in DFW where they were just complete, all like Boyd Connaughton style, like shop, right?
And that's exactly what they were. You know, they were, that's what they were doing. They were doing the real, you know, real elaborate, high dollar, high end, you know, $150,000, $200,000 builds, you know, for customers. The owner himself, it was more or less kind of an entertaining, more of a distraction for him from his, you know, his main business that he was working on. So it was more of his hobby. But he was really pumping in a lot of money into these cars, and you know, he hired, you know, some people from, you know, different shops to come in and build these for him. You know, and he was hiring some pretty good people at the time. Me, on the other hand, that was kind of when the whole bike scene, that whole bike shop deal went south on me. And a friend of mine said, man, you need to go over there and take a look at that shop. Go over there and take a look. Man, he's got some cool cars. I wasn't looking for a job. Yeah. But, so I said, okay. Well, one day I had to run out to Arlington. I was picking up some parts on the job I was doing, and I stopped by. I was in the neighborhood, and I was actually in shock. I was like, man, this place is crazy. I mean, he was building some nice stuff. And happened to be that he was there, and he came out and he introduced himself and blah 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 blah. One thing led to the next. I walked out of there with T-shirts, so I was starting the next week.
Yeah,
and that's how I kind of got into that shop.
Would you say that like being there and having that kind of backing to like support a cent, like I don't know the financial side of it, but basically knowing that you had a pretty good sized dude that's making your check, I'm sure it was like taxes and all that shit involved. It just maybe have alleviated some of the stress of being a business owner to where you can focus on art a little bit or focus on your craft at all.
It did really. I mean, that way I didn't have to. I wasn't stressed about bills. Wasn't stressed about overhead. I wasn't stressed about anything at that point in time. I mean, it was just a free for all. Just cutting roofs, just making cool stuff, making really really cool crazy rides. I mean, like George Barris style stuff. I mean, we was doing some crazy stuff, and he was just buying cars left and right off eBay. I mean, some of them were junk, some of them were really nice. And we just go out there and just start. He's
the OG Richard Rollins.
Yeah, man. And that's what he was doing. Oh, him and Richard Rollins, they hated each other for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But so that's what we was doing. And that really let me he didn't care. I mean, at the time, it was the wilder the better. It was the most outrageous the better. So then I was just getting real goofy with it,
Yeah, exploring it.
And I ended up being his designer. I mean, I started designing a lot of the cars and doing the renderings, and then it got to where he realized I could actually do there was some stuff I wouldn't tell him that I could do because I didn't really want to do it, like body work and all that. He didn't know any of that, so thank God. But I really wanted to stay more on the fabrication side of it. So that's all I told him I could do, and that's really where we got into cutting stuff up.
Yeah, I remember I went through one point in time. Okay, so do you remember that painter that worked there, Randy?
Mm-hmm, Randy.
I think I told you about it.
Yeah.
I was his helper for a year or so when I was in the body shop business. Like I worked under him, was prepping cars for him, this, that, and the other. And I remember going there once. I go through ups and downs, like mind wise. Like I'm like fuck being in business myself. I just want a job. I'm done with this shit. And I'll go walk around, look for Jace, this is my portfolio. And then I went in there once, and I think I had saw Randy somewhere, and he told me to come by. But I was like, fuck this place. I don't want to fucking drive all the way to
Yeah, man. Actually, he worked there for a long time. I'm not sure where he's at now. I think he's at a local dealership now. But he worked there for, man, I'd say 9 years.
That dude was so, triggered is the hashtag I like to use. Because when I worked with him at the dealership, he would, every morning we would have shop meetings, right? So at 8 a.m. we're all there. We're talking about everything going on. And I was more friends with the body guys in the shop, and they would be fucking with him because sometimes he would hang runs on the side of quarter panels and shit. They'd be fucking with waterfall over here and shit like that. And he would get so butthurt. I was like, damn, it sucks I'm on his team because these guys are way cooler over here.
Man, he really he tried real hard. I mean, he took pride in it. He did some really good paint jobs, but man, as soon as he screwed up, oh man, everybody
he just couldn't take criticism or joke about it,
and it would make his day, a couple of days, even a week, just horrible for him. You know, so he couldn't get past it. But good dude. He just, but like you said, triggered. Yeah, it didn't take much.
Hashtag.
Hashtag.
So, I mean, the rendering thing, because I draw sketches for bikes, but my sketches are here's a crayon box and here's an outline, color in the lines. Your shit is perspective and fucking chip foos and stuff like that. You do realize, this is one thing as I get older, that all these little things that we know how to do, they're careers.
Yeah, exactly. And
they're self
very successful.
Alone.
Yeah, and that's all they do. And I'm surprised you said that about my renderings, because me, I hate them. I draw so many renderings, I don't even post them, and I don't know what I'm trying to compare myself to, and I have no idea. But for some reason, they're just not where I want to be. What is it? Rainus Brothers or whatever. Dude, that dude is sick. I guess that's what I'm comparing myself to, because there's no way I could right now.
A lot of people are going more toward, when it comes to renderings on cars and bikes and projects, they're going more towards a digital front. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's something that, way more valuable and nostalgic when you have whatever you're drawing on, that's something you can hold in your hand. Dude, if I wanted to hire a photographer to take some pictures of my shop, or me working or riding or whatever for promotions, that has a value to it. But if I hire you to draw or sketch or plan out this paint job and this bike I'm thinking of, I want the physical item. I don't want a digital fucking JPEG that you send to my phone. I want to hold it, and I want to use it, and I want to test my paints on it, and then I want to fucking frame it and put it on the wall next to the fucking magazine plaque. Like, there's something cool about that, in my opinion.
Especially when it's coming from the artist. I mean, the artist that's going to paint your car, truck, motorcycle.
Well, I think it's good that you do it, and that's the same reason why I do it, because I'll tell you what, like, if somebody sent me a rendering that you designed, I'd be like, well, you know, good thing is Chad fucking also paints bikes, so there you go, buddy. Like, I don't. What do you need his number?
Right. and you know, and that's the one thing I could say that really sometimes irritates me nowadays, because you did bring up the digital aspect of it, you know, and is renderings are no punk. I mean, you're spending some time. There's some time behind, you know, and you know, markers and color Prisma. This is expensive.
Fucking a box of like just basic fucking like just primary colors box is $70.
Oh yeah.
If you get the complementary colors on top of that, that's $180. If you want to do the grayscale black to fucking, you know, 10% gray, warm and cold black, that's fucking like, you can easily have $600 to $1,000 in markers.
Oh, quick.
And then you're not even talking about liners, like fucking little, you know, micron fucking different width fucking all this shit. Like I said, it's a career, it's a business, and sometimes like when people would hit me up and say, hey, you know, that's why I wouldn't offer people more than one rendering. I'm like, you give me everything you got right here, I'm gonna apply everything to this sketch. If I can't come up with the, like, first off, if I send you the picture of the sketch, then it's because I'm fucking stoked about it. Like, this is it, dude. This is what you said you wanted. This is what I think it is, and we're good. Yep. And when I get triggered on this, and they're like, hey,
I know where you're going.
So is that green going to be that shade? I'm like, motherfucker, it's a marker, dude.
I'm limited.
Like, I don't have 8 shades of fucking green with flake and pearl and this. Like, dude, have imagination.
Right.
You know, but yeah, sometimes I get that.
Even with like airbrushing, you know, if they want the airbrushing and I kind of know what they want, I'll try to just eliminate that altogether, because you're not going to be able to make it out. You know, either that or I'll do a blown up, you know, a bigger scale version of it, and then they still don't understand it. But, you know, you talk about the going back to like the digital side, you know, you go in and what they don't see is you see the one picture. We may have drawn it and colored it 20 different times. Yeah. But the one you see is the one that you put all your hopes and put everything into the artist to let him do and let him be creative. Well, let him be creative. So when they present you with something, that's what that artist wants to do. Yeah. You know, that's what he wants to do. I call it strangle. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, you know, you get the customers that strangle you. You know, it's like you can't be completely free, and that's going to happen. But and then they always say, well, can we change the color up? It's like, dude, this isn't CAD. You know, this isn't digital. I can't just go in and push a button and change the color. Yeah. I mean, this is what it is. You gave me the colors. You gave me what you want. So, and usually, you know, I don't really have very many problems with it, but I do get that sometimes. He's like, well, can we, instead of it being, you know, the blue, can we kind of go with like a candy apple red? I'm like,
that changes the dynamic of it. Yeah. It might even change the pinstripe colors and other.
It changes everything.
A lot of things. It changes the mood of the bike. Yep. So, I think that and I'm probably the worst dude in the world to deal with when it comes to custom paint, because, and I'm not even like a master by any means, and I'm not even trying to put myself on it. I'm just saying, like, me, I probably am more, I guess because I have so much opportunity when it comes to work, that I'm a lot more choosy on everything. Like, honestly, if you have the project of my dreams, but if I get a vibe in our conversation of a certain type of person, I will turn that job down 100%. I'm like, you know what? Your project is everything I've ever dreamed of, but I know you. I know what kind of person you are, and I know what you need from me.
You're going to make this as miserable as possible for me.
I'm not trying to do it. I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm not trying to, like, be your buddy through this process and text you every fucking day and let you tell me to change 100 things. You know what I mean? Fuck that. Like, I don't want to deal with that.
I've only had 2 customers where I've just stopped.
Yeah.
You know, I've just had to stop, because when you get to that point to where they're being so, again, it goes back, you know, you come to an artist. I don't know how much research you've done. I don't know how much, you know, how many people you know. I don't know. I don't really care, but you called me. Yeah. You got my number from somebody. You called me and you want me to do the best I can at what I think looks good.
Yeah.
I am in knowing me, I don't follow trends. I use them for inspiration, but I don't follow them.
Yeah.
I always try to go off something even with my paint jobs. I mean, I try to just do something completely just weird, strange, but you come to me for something and then I build it for you. But it's not quite exactly what you want, or you want me to go ahead and stop right now and let's go ahead and start adding stuff. That's usually what it is. They want to add this and add that. And I'm like, there's a word for that and I don't want to use it. I'm not going to do this. It's just, I can't. Now I'm no longer having fun.
Yeah, it's a job.
I'm no longer having fun. I'm no longer having freedom. You're strangling me. Let me do what I wanted to do first.
Yeah.
And then we can go back and we can try to trim the fat a little bit and kind of get it more what you want. But at least let me finish what I have in mind first before you start changing things up. And that's another thing too. It's a double-edged sword too. You want to give people progress pictures. You want to show people where you're at in stages of this at. What's the first question they ask you? What's this? What's that? What
is it going to be glossy?
Is it going to be this? It's like, it's not an insult, but it's kind of a letdown. It's just let me finish it.
Okay, so what that is, and let me tell you my opinion of what that is.
Please do.
My opinion is that is you as an adult having to explain every aspect of your actions to another adult. So you're having to explain yourself to somebody who does not trust you.
Exactly, and that makes a lot of sense.
If they trusted you from day one, they would already know that they're going to get what they expect because they expect your style and your art and your vision
as
of
an
things.
artist. Yeah,
so you have to establish that thing from day one. You're like, hey, like you came to me for my work. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's
exactly right.
There's nothing wrong with if like say you're a customer and you come to me and you have your like say Chad Mahone's work and my work and many other artists' work, but if they seem more interested in your work or another artist's work, then my first response is, hey, I have their number if you would like a direct contact.
And that's exactly the way it should be.
And you have to, as an artist, man, you have to be willing to do that because what you're doing now, if you accept that job that guy wants, really he wants me to paint, but he's giving it to you or vice versa, right? Then now you have to live up to my name instead of your own. And that's not fair as an artist because you're supposed to be giving them your art.
Exactly. And now I'm having to change my ways. I'm having to try to, switch my style up in order to try to mimic somebody else's artwork that came from their soul. And I'm not about that. That's what you do best.
That's when it takes the whole.
I'm not going to do that.
It takes the whole concept of what art actually means out of a paint job, out of a rendering, out of everything that's creative with building cars, bikes, or whatever the case may be. So you have to, and you also like to give customers credit. They're used to being, they're like, what do you say?
Magazine people. I call them magazine people.
Mm-hmm.
They come to you and all they see is of course it's not magazines now, it's TV shows and this and the other, but they see what they see and that's what they want, that's what they like, and that's cool. But what they don't see is things that are published in magazines and things that are published on television, that those have been out for a little bit, whether it be a month, 90 days or whatever, a lot of times artists have already moved on, they're going to bigger and better things. So and they kind of want to bring you back into that. And they want you to copy, something of Corey St. Clair or, Ryan Townsend, they want to copy that. And it's just like, that's not my style. And they've already moved on. They don't even want to do that anymore, but like you said, let that artist be creative. Just give them full reign of what they want to do. And you're going to you'll much rather have that, and you'll really like the final product.
Well, think about this also, like most people in the world have never bought art or considered hiring an artist for that matter. So they have no idea of how to interact, what to expect. In their defense, they're used to just basic transactions. So
buy here.
I'm going to buy this service from you. I'm going to buy this. This is what I want. Well, I don't want to do that. Speaking as an artist, I don't want to do that. That's not what I want to do. Well, I'm a customer. I'm like, well, you can fuck yourself. Take yourself to whatever custom, whatever.
And we have that freedom to say that.
Well, that you all, not even just the freedom, you have to have the balls because you cannot. You gotta understand, like, okay, so if a customer wants what they want, if they want to hire another guy that doesn't custom paint, that doesn't build bikes to do a rendering of a project or an idea, but those guys that did the renderings don't know how to paint this.
They don't know how it's going to work. They don't know clearances.
Oh, I'm sorry. You did a great digital image of a paint job that's not possible in real human life. So
yeah, and they want it in candy. You know?
I want flakes. I want I want this exact. There's so many things. So it's like you have to. You almost got to put people in their place, and
because when you're doing that, you're actually building the bike as you're painting it. You know, you're not just. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
but when you're doing the renderings, you're not just doing, okay, well, that's a pretty color, let's go with it. No, you're in the back of your mind. If you have the experience of building the bike, or just just body work alone and how it's going to work and how it you got to. There's little things like clearances, and mill thicknesses, and you're in your mind as you're drawing this rendering. You got to make sure it's going to work. You can physically do it, and it's going to be efficient enough to do it, or you're gonna have yourself a nightmare real quick.
Yeah, it's funny
just because you have a pretty drawing.
But yeah, that's the one thing is, I guess as time goes and as like this digital age becomes more and more predominant in how we get our inspiration and how we get our ideas for even customers, like figuring out which direction they want to go. And I think that it's all out there. So like I try not to be a dick, man, but there's honestly no way to not be a dick, You're just like, hey, dude, like, this is not...
We got to be selfish. We have to be selfish sometimes, and sometimes it'll come off like
Could you imagine being Dali? Dali, and then some dude shows up one day like, hey, man, I want a painting, but, here's a picture of some Andy Warhol shit. Do you think you can pull this off?
Exactly.
And what do you think Dali's going to say? You go, fuck off, dude. You
came to me. Number one, you came to me. Yeah. So obviously you know a little bit about me, or you've heard about me.
The people should invest their minds in that. Their time, and hey, man, I want someone to do my work. Man, I really like this guy's look, his style, his vibe, what he puts out. Right?
Exactly. Okay, and that goes to like tattoos and stuff. I've got every tattoo that I have. I've drawn myself, and I'm over it now. I just kind of want, and I don't have very many, but now I'm wanting a tattoo. But I'm looking at other artists. It's kind of disappointing in a way, because when I actually, and I've been doing this for about a year or two now, and I'll message them or something on Instagram, Facebook, and I'm like, hey, is there anything that you ever wanted to try? I'm not worried about, we're not talking about money or anything. Is there anything that you've ever wanted to try on somebody that you really want to do that reflects your style and your artwork and your passion, And the responses I get were like, well, why don't you come on in and let's talk about it. Let me get to know your personality. It's like, I don't want you to know my personality. I want a piece of your work on from one artist to another. I want something that, is this coming out right?
That's right. Yeah.
It's like me saying, hey, Jace, I want you to paint me a skate deck. Well, what do you like? Well, it's not about me. I want a piece of your work as an artist, because I respect you as an artist and I like your style. I came to you for a reason, and I want your style, and people don't see that.
To play devil's advocate here, right? Me personally, I have 4 skate decks back there. I got one over there I just painted that, and I got a fridge door right here. I have a couple helmets of my own over there. I don't know what the fuck I want to do.
If you're doing it for yourself, you can never figure it out. It's like, I want to paint my truck. I want to paint my car. There's so many things I want to do. I can't.
But in response to your question, though, like, I would imagine, yes, as a tattoo artist, like, and this is one thing I've always envied about the tattoo like culture, is that as I've done the tattoo thing for a very small time, and I was never any good at it whatsoever. But the amount of time I spent in a tattoo shop, you could see it's like there was either the guy drawing all day, there was the guy playing a video game waiting for the next customer to walk in the door, or the guy watching TV shooting the shit. You know what I mean? But so there are certain artists that sit there and they just immerse themselves with art and creativity and evolution of their own style. And those are the guys you want to find. Like, hey, man, is there something you really want to do? And that question is relevant to them. But a guy that's trying to pay his rent at the end of the week, he don't give a fuck. He's like, man, what do you want? A fucking infinity symbol with a butterfly?
Those are the guys I don't want. I want somebody. I want that guy, like you said. I want the guy that's sitting there drawing all day, not the one who's playing video games. I want the guy that's sitting there drawing because he has a passion for it, and he's got something in his mind. Maybe something's trying to come out, and that's what I want. I want somebody else's artwork.
Sometimes you got to be like, hey, maybe I guess in what I said earlier is like you almost got to give them a piece, like something. That's like me. Like when I ask people what they want to do on their helmet or their bike, I'm like, hey, what colors do you like?
Right.
I just need 2. The rest of them, let me do what I do, because I'm gonna find the colors that fit this style the best. If you say I like, red and black, or red and blue, or fucking red and pink, then I'll put those 2 colors together, and then I'll look at graffiti. I'll look at fucking nature books. Like I got. And
that's cool, man. I listened to a podcast. You said something about that, and I would have never thought about that. That's pretty cool. I never thought about.
Graffiti artists have the ability to blend colors together that are incomprehensible in a lot of ways. You know what I mean?
You wouldn't think they made sense.
They didn't, but but they do, and they're usually like basic colors. They're not like pearlescence. Yeah, they're not pearlescence or metallics or candies. They're usually like opaque white, opaque pink, opaque red, and you're like, fuck, that looks dope. And then like some dark gray in there. It's like, wow, like that gray really brings it together. But that's the thing, is like you have to look outside of your community to find inspiration sometimes, and even nature. Like I don't do it as much, but I heard somebody at one point, I can't remember the artist that I heard this from, but he said something about looking at like tropical fish and coral reefs and things like that.
Makes sense.
You find, and one thing like I like a lot is like I like browns and shit, but I've never really had the balls to use them. But you'll look at a coral reef and have like a brown to white with a little bit of pink and then a bright blue, and you're like, why does this look so cool?
Yep.
It doesn't look that cool on a bike.
Again, you never know what colors are going to look good, and that's where I go back for inspiration. On Instagram, to find those colors.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the colors that I think look real good, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I want to do. I'll usually never end up doing those colors anyway, but it just sparked something to make me dig deeper into something, to experiment even more.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to, you were talking about a customer, give me 2 colors. Well, I get the ones more than not, well, I don't know, man, just do something cool. Well, man, you're messing up, because we can go on and on. I can draw things forever, just kind of give you ideas. Just give me some place to start. And so again, like you were saying about me requesting for a tattoo from an artist, just give them a place to start. And you're right about that. The one thing I ask customers when they don't know, and a lot of people, they don't know, they really don't, is like, okay, what don't you like? What colors do you not like? What characters, do you not like skulls? Do you not like, demons and stuff like that? I'll ask them what they don't want. At least give me a starting point, like you said. And you're absolutely right. Well, and at least, I can kind of, I don't really need to know their personality, because they're going to give it to me anyway, or I'm already going to feel it. But sometimes they're just really neutral. They just don't know. They just want a flashy, whatever it may be,
Yeah, that's what I'm finding is like really new, and I guess the word is progressive, about the art culture and the many facets of it, from tattoos to clothing to fucking paint to graffiti and all these things. It's just we're all like, I think that also the other aspect is that we're not all eating out of the same neighborhood anymore.
Right.
So we have the ability to spread our wings across a larger customer base, where we can be more picky about the types of jobs we take, and we can be more picky. put it like this. I charge, let's just say a hypothetical number. I'm going to use an astronomical number, right, that way. But let's just say I charge $10,000 to paint a helmet, right? I can definitely paint helmets for less. I can definitely paint helmets for more, right? But the thing is that like I'm comfortable at $10,000, and it's not so much that $10,000 is the helmet price that like, oh man, what you want is $10,000 and $100 or some shit, My thing is like, I like just having a price range when I charge for certain things that gives me the freedom to go up or down depending on what it needs, rather than like, if I tell you like, hey man, to paint your bike is $4,000, and then you come back the next day and say, hey, you know what, man, I think I really want some silver leaf in it. I'm like, well, that's an extra $500. That's an extra $2,000. I would rather just be like, hey, you know what?
No worries.
This is about the area we're going to be at for this price.
Yep.
For this bike to be done. And just as much as you want this to be a fucking amazing paint job, I do as well. Because I took your job on, because I want every job that I'm doing or I'm spending my time on to have more impact on my legacy, if that's anything.
No, you're exactly right. Yeah, you want it to you want to do the best. You if you have that opportunity to go a little bit over and beyond, or to help somebody out, or I mean, it's like some paint jobs. You know, they're like, okay, we only have this amount of money. Everything I'm working on is a budget from a customer, pretty much.
Yeah.
You know? There's only a very few times where I've just listed an astronomical price, and then they're like, okay, yeah. But me being the honest person, you know, I'm like, well, it's not going to be that much. But
You back down.
yeah, I couldn't sleep. You know, I feel guilty. But no matter what the price range is, I'm always going to give it within reason my 100% or 110%. I'm going to give them a little bit more. You know, just like you were saying with the silver leaf, it wasn't in the budget at first, but they come back a week later. Hey man, can we throw some silver leaf in there? Cool, no problem. I mean, what's it going to be? You know what I mean? Just throw that in there. Same price, same this. Throw it in there, and then now they're happy. You know.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So when I charge it, that number I was telling is retarded. But
Right.
I charge $1,500 for a helmet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't give a shit what you want. Within what I like, if you want me to airbrush the whole helmet, I don't offer that. Well, how much do you charge? I don't charge it. I don't want to do it because I know I can, and I know that I'm gonna wrap myself for weeks trying to create this monologue of fucking artwork around your helmet, and I'm gonna charge you $3,000 to $4,000 for this helmet, and then that's awesome. I got $3,000, $4,000 to paint a helmet, but you know what's gonna happen afterwards to me as an artist? I want $4,000 for every fucking helmet now.
Yep, you're tainted now.
You want flames? $4,000, faggot. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's like I'd rather like to keep myself humble and to keep myself in a place where I'm comfortable to operate. I like to do my style or my artwork within that. And you know, at one point in time, it's like the helmets that I'm doing with the portraits and the panels, it's gonna play itself out, and that's cool. But you know, for now, like I'm comfortable making the money I'm charging. I'm comfortable doing it, and I have enough people wanting me to do it.
Yeah. The main thing is you're into it and you're having fun. You know,
it's also given me a chance to explore other types of custom paint work and dive into their style and their network of paint and try to bring more flavor to mine to where like you're growing. And that brings back another thing I was wanting to bring up with you is like when I first got into art, like just airbrushing, and that was my only connection to the real art world, as you would say. It was really hard, and I struggled with this. I wouldn't say I was depressed or anything, but I was struggled because I would look at guys like Alex Gray and people in the art world that are very established, like OG Abel, you know, people that just create art on demand, or not even that, but just they have their own brand of art, and you're like so influenced by that, or you're so influenced by all these different things. It's like, man, like how do I create my own brand? Like who am I? And you know, even then I kind of had this idea, but I think that I'm reinforcing it now, is that you don't have your own, like it's a rare thing that you grow up and all of a sudden you're a 16 to 26-year-old guy who has created a brand in art that's you alone.
You're still discovering yourself. You don't know.
Yeah, I think, and you know, when I started researching different artists that I loved, from, you know, Rembrandt to fucking, you know, Dali and all these people, they would talk about other painters, you know, Renaissance painters and this, that, and the other that influenced them. And I'm like, oh shit, like these dudes are just like me. Like they were inspired by other artists, which you can kind of, now that you know that he was inspired by this artist, you can see it in his artwork.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I kind of get the same way too. But my thoughts are, you know, being that young and you're just starting out, you don't really know who you are. You know, you don't know what you're trying to do. And I still don't know. I would love to be that guy that only does, you know, angel portraits, or that guy that's well known for clowns, or whether it may be, you know, evil or, you know, contemporary. I would love to be that guy, but right now I don't know. I get too bored easily. Yeah. If I'm doing something, I really don't want to do it again. I will, but I don't want to do it again tomorrow. Yeah. You know, I always want to try to do something to keep me motivated and keep me going. If I had, you know, the 3 cars that all want the same paint jobs, I would be over it by the time I'm done, you know, the first one half of the first car, because I know I've got 2 more to do. I always want to just do something different. I guess
what's the idea of like not working on an assembly line? You know, like there's no creativity. And I mean, like when I see like a helmet painter that bangs out like 40, you know, Red Bull helmets. Like one of my favorite painters is Airtrix, and he's always doing Red Bull helmets, and I'm like, dude, like how are you, like that's machine work, man. Like that's, and how are you still pumping out really, really awesome work? And to me, I'm fascinated. Fuck the artwork. I want to talk to you. Like, what's going on in your head that puts you in a state of mind to accomplish that work?
And so precise. And
yeah, and being enthusiastic about it. Like,
that's a good question. I really appreciate that work, but I appreciate the mistakes.
Yeah.
I appreciate the little, in other people's work, when they have the little blowout or when they have a little crooked line or something like that. I appreciate that because that's a soul.
Mm-hmm.
I guess with everybody wanting to do wraps and, vehicle wraps and stuff like that, it's so digital. It's so, you're just pasting a big giant sticker on the side of a car. There's no soul in it. There's no human.
There's no experience either as a customer, like getting that done. Like, hey man, saw this cool picture on vectors.com,
Mm-hmm.
There's really, and that brings me back to another point, is that there is an experience when you're having something painted. It's just like, it's like the experience that you witnessed on like LA Ink or fucking, Miami Ink. Like, oh man, my grandmother died. She was into fucking peacocks and
right.
And then my grandfather was into fucking like hardcore porn. And so I want to put those two together and then this is what I want. Right.
Yeah.
Well, for a while that really helped the artist community, because like people were coming with ideas and was giving us something to palette or something to inspire a piece for that individual. Mm-hmm. But then it got to a point where people were like, oh, they wanted to be a part of the process. They wanted to have creative freedom. And then next thing you know, it's like, so I just work. So what's my 401k? Like, who do I sign up with? Like, because now at this point, like I'm per hour for you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I've had to tell people a couple times, it's just like, hey, do you want an artist? That's kind of where that's going from. They put so much into it. It's like, why? No, again, it's going back to why did you came to me for a reason?
Yeah.
You like my style, or you like what I do, or whichever it may be. If you wanted a sticker, I know a great vinyl company. They can, if that's really what you want, I can do that. But I don't want to do that. I'm not that perfect. Do
you still get tagged a lot? Like are you on Facebook at all still?
Man, honestly, I haven't been.
Yeah, I try.
Ever since the political crap, I just got off of it. But I'm slowly but surely posting a few things, just kind of transferring it from Instagram. So
every once in a while, like I imagine you deal with this every once in a while, but like how every city has its like their scene that's got a chat room that's like the DFW Harley riders, and some fucking queer on there is like, hey guys, who do you think I should go to for a paint job? And then everybody and their mom tags their favorite painter from everywhere in the world. And it's like, now it's my job to comment on there and fucking claw at this opportunity for work. And I'm like, that's not how it works, bro. It's not how it works.
I've had that, and I just thank you. Thanks for looking up, and I just leave it at that.
I don't even respond. I'm like, you know what?
And I probably should.
You're the fucking queer that couldn't even just log in and search. Dude, you could Google the amount of time you spent. Like, you could literally take a shit at work and figure out who you like in paint work. Just Google it, or get on Instagram, or get on Facebook and just search.
Yeah,
it's so lazy to just like, you're not the customer I want at all.
Because you're wanting a trend. You're wanting the trendy painter. You're wanting who you're not. No,
you want a deal
or a deal. Exactly. That's the people. As soon as you get that phone call, well, how much? How much what? Well, how much for a paint job? Why?
Because they're not searching your work. They're searching, like, if they were looking for work, they would find your work out. They would follow you on one of the things, or they'd follow your website or whatever and be like, hey, I'm a fan of your work, man. Like, I'm really interested in having something done by you. To me, it's like, honestly, like, that phrase alone makes me want to be like, hey, dude, fucking, we're friends. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Do we just become best friends?
Yeah. But, when like, people are like, hey, man, so-and-so gave me your number. I heard you do custom paint. I'm like, yeah, I do, but I don't know if I want to do anything for you.
Right.
Dude, do some research, man. Like, if you go buy a house, you go figure out what the fuck you're going to spend your money on, right? You go figure out what kind of bike you want to buy. You go figure out the kind of car you want to do and how you want to build it. Yeah. So why the fuck haven't you researched any of this shit?
To go back on that, though, the one thing I can say is, like, in the race world, with the race cars and stuff like that, I don't think there's a whole lot of painters that are willing to paint race cars.
You know why? Because they don't want to fucking pay. Hey, man, it's just a race car. I'm like, motherfucker, you just told me you spent $70,000 on a fucking block on your engine, and you're telling me you don't have $700 for a fucking logo on your hood?
Yep.
Fuck off, dude.
and those guys, they will call around and they'll try to find out, who's out there that will, do a grill or do a bumper, and because there's not very many people that'll do it, or we'll even mess with it. And again, that's where I'll say, look, this is the price I'm going to do it to where I'm comfortable with it. It's going to be comfortable enough for me to deal with it, to take up the space, and the time, and I can usually knock them out pretty quick. But oh yeah, I'm gonna get it painted and everything's gonna be. The last couple I've had have been really nice and clean. But some in the past, they're like, oh, it's gonna be perfect. It's gonna be wet sanded, and you're not gonna have to worry about nothing. And of course, they come in looking like they got drugged behind a Mack truck, and they don't understand why the price just went up. It's like, well, now I went from painter to body man, and I don't like being a body man.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be a prima donna either, but if I have in my mind that I'm going to do a grill or a bumper or a logo or an emblem or something, that's what I want to do. I don't want to be surprised with all this. Now I'm having to refiberglass some stuff. I don't want to do that. I'm already over it. I'm not even motivated anymore.
Yeah, almost like, hey, here's a number to a guy to fix all this and bring it back.
And that's the ups and the downs of the race car world.
It's almost like you have to find.
They want it in 24 hours.
Yeah, because
they got a race coming up, Friday, and here it is Thursday morning. It's always like that. And he's like, hey man, I need all this stuff done. It's okay, cool. Well, bring it to me on Wednesday or Thursday, and then I can have it to you the following Wednesday or Thursday. Oh no, I need it by Friday. We're going out on the track Saturday morning. You just got
to get to a point, man. Like that shit. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. If you provide a service. I mean, that's the same thing if you cut hair for a living and some dude, you close at 8 and some dude shows up at 7:59, like, dude, I got a date later. And I'm like, dude, like, why, why is that my problem? You know what I mean? But it's also like it's a game of vulnerability. Like who's the more vulnerable person in this situation? Mm-hmm. This guy's coming to you with a job, and most people think, okay, well, I'm giving this dude a job. Like otherwise he's sitting on his ass doing nothing, so he should thank me. And it's not the case.
No,
now, that might have been the case 15 years ago when we didn't have, social media and we didn't have this ways of like completely connecting with people everywhere to where we can bombard ourselves with work.
People can see us.
Yeah. So now it's like, you have to just, your quality of life as an artist grows exponentially when you get rid of the drama customers. And it's not drama because they're piece of shit people, because they don't understand. They don't take the time to enjoy what they're getting done. They don't take the time to respect the artists that they're asking to do. So when you get rid of those people, you're not under the gun. You're not trying to perform. Put it like this, like when I realized that I wanted everything I do to be the best that I got, my quality of customers have gone up, my work has gone up, my happiness has gone up. I do want to be challenged every once in a while, but I like to be challenged on my own terms. Like I like the fact that, whenever I want to try something new, I'm trying it on my own terms, and I'm not under the pressure of meeting someone else's expectations. I'm working under my own, you know what I mean? And
ultimately I think that's the goal. I'm not quite there yet. I'm always, that goes back to being strangled, but I've kind of got to fit in with what their requests are and their needs or what they're trying to do, whether it be a timeline or color or graphic or whichever. So I'm still kind of there, and I look at it as a challenge. It's funny because I've been doing some repair work for a couple of shops here lately, and I get to a point where sometimes I get this creative block, and this shop will call me up and say, hey man, we got a couple tanks here, it's got some airbrush work on it, we're gonna see if you can fix it. And I'm like, fuck yes, because now it's a challenge, because I have no idea what I'm fixing to get into. I have no idea how this artist did this thing, and don't know what colors they used, what steps they took, what materials they used. And sometimes I do them dirt cheap just so I can get the experience or just get the challenge, you know what I mean? Just to say I fixed that, hey, look what I got, but and sometimes I just break even, but it's kind of it's a relief, it's kind of an escape, just a break away from from me having to try to think up stuff and be creative on my own. Because I think we all go through that, and sometimes you just need that no-brainer, just that dent in the tank and that dent in the fender, and you got to figure out the color. It's a custom paint job, match the flames. Sometimes it'd be easy just to redo the whole thing and redo the flames altogether. Yeah. But sometimes there's that reward to being able to repair that,
accomplish, and
have everything blended in and say, look what I did, But that's kind of where I'm at. I struggle with it. I struggle with my place on who I want to be, or how I want to establish myself, or what kind of artist I am. But again, it's a double-edged sword, because then I get bored too easy. I don't want to just be doing the same thing or that same style.
You don't want to pigeonhole yourself, yeah.
Exactly, and that's what the good thing about the sculpting and the fabricating and stuff like that. Because I mean, like right now, I'm just, even before I came here tonight, I'm painting an American flag, but at the same time, I'm having a balance because I'm building a dash for a tank, and so I'm having to convert my shop from a paint shop to a fab shop. And it seems like it's a pain in the butt, and sometimes it is, but it's still, at the end of the day, it's a refreshment, because I'm not doing the same thing over and over and over. I mean, who knows? I mean, even with paint, I mean, I could be painting a truck today and maybe a boat tomorrow, or doing a repair job on a mural, the next day. You never know what I'm going to get, or this guy just, needs some crazy engine cover, or, crazy dash work, or, some kind of console made out of sheet metal. I never know what I'm going to get. Just recently did a restaurant build out. Did this really industrial style, like rivets and panels and stuff for a restaurant. I mean, I didn't know what to do. I was scared to death, but I did it, but it's different. It's a challenge,
I think that with you, like, your true passion, though, is just art in general.
Art.
Yeah.
And I tell everybody, if they know me or if they're a frequent customer, it's like, as long as it's cool, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out as long as it's cool, and I'm going to do it. And that's what I want to do. Anything creative, inspiring.
That's a good mindset to be on, because I mean, I'm not in that mindset, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm like, I envy you, because you're in a place where it's constant creativity, constant evolution, constant wanting a challenge in art. And I'm not really there. Like, I guess I skipped over that part, and I fell in love with bikes, motorcycles, so I don't really have I have the passion for it, but it's like a subsidiary passion, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Like, I dig it, and I want to push myself in it. But realistically, if you said, hey, this weekend, you want to ride cross country, or you want to ride with your boys down south, or you want to paint? I'm like, I'm fucking riding, dude. Fuck this paint shit. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a place that, like, I don't recommend anybody that wants to be in any kind of art to get into that thing. But I was thinking about, like, I grew up in a paint and body shop, and then I started doing custom paint in 04. So here I am, 14 years into the custom world, and I went through a phase of a couple years where art, like fine art, was everything. Like, I was painting canvases. I was, doing some of my own thing, but it was still heavily influenced by other pop art that was going on. But I didn't find the same satisfaction of finishing a painting as I did whenever I started riding, traveling on motorcycles. It was weird.
Well, it's a whole nother experience, I'm sure. I haven't had that opportunity to just jump on something and just go and just forget about the world for a little bit. I've been here recently. I bought a boat for the family, and we've been going out to the lakes a lot just to kind of escape a little bit. And you're not far from home, but I can kind of see where you like you say, you go out, but yours is far more elaborate.
Selfish.
No.
Dude, I feel like I am, because I'll put everything on that trip, and, like, fuck my kids, fuck my family. I'm trying to go out and not be a responsible adult for fucking 2 weeks out of the year or more. And I found a refreshment in it of, like, reigniting life, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's where it's like, when I'm out there, there's a timeline of, there's the build up to leave, right? I'm irritable, I'm pressured, I'm trying to get shit done, I'm trying to get things aligned so I can leave. And so you're an asshole to your wife, you're not the best dad, you're not the best friend, you're not the best of anything. And then you get on the road, and you're out there for a couple days, and all that shit's gone now, and now you're like, fuck, I'm a dick, man. I miss my family, I miss my kids, I miss my life, because I've put myself in another world to come to this thing.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I can see, but even though you did do that, no matter what, I mean, as much work as we do, we put our souls into this, and it's just like we're so zoned in on our creative and our art that the world, and sometimes a lot of times responsibilities just kind of pass us up anyway. I've heard it said an artist is a horrible businessman. It's because you don't want to do the responsibilities. When you're thinking of art, that's it. That's all you want to focus on is art. And a lot of times, some of the things like being a responsible adult and being a parent and mowing the yard, taking out trash, that just it's so minimum. You don't even care about it, and you don't do that. So you have to get away. How many times do you sit at home in bed and you think, man, you feel guilty because you need to be doing something? I can't sit inside and watch TV. I can't because I've got to go back out there. I'm guilty. It's like I'm doing this 7 days a week, and it's not that I don't regret it, but I still, no matter what, I feel guilty for not making progress on something.
Yeah.
And then it takes my wife to go out there and slap me. And it's like, we're getting out of here. You got to get away. You got to get away. And I'm like, well, I'm having a great time. But she can see it. She can see the stress, or she can see something building up, but you have to get away. And I always hate, like, God, man, I got to pack. We got to do this, got to do that, tickets and flights and blah, blah, blah. But
when you do get away, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
When you do get away, are you away? Do you find yourself able to check out of it?
After about a day. Okay. It takes a good 24 hours because no matter what, you still have to run off phone calls and run off, text messages and, people still asking a few things. But that gives you the opportunity to say, hey, I'm on vacation. I'll get you back. So it usually takes about 24 hours. And by then, after that, your second, third day, usually you're starting to just be away. But it takes a good probably 3 to 4 days.
Yeah.
Even though you regretted it before, I always, when we either get back home or something, I always tell my wife, I say, thank you for making me do that. Even though I didn't want to do it, even though I didn't want to go out, and everybody else would have loved to go on. I'm miserable, because not that I'm miserable, but I'm just worried about everything. I'm worried about things that need to be done. I'm worried about this customer, he's supposed to be here, But a lot of times you realize that that's not important. What's important is getting away and spending time with the family and your wife, and because those are your supporters. At the end of the day, those are the people that really care about you.
Yeah, I find it hard, like sometimes, like juggling the pressure of being creative on demand, and also handling adult responsibilities like paying rent, and before, when I had my brother working here, paying his check. Mm-hmm. Like I used to tell him, I was like, man, like you don't understand, like this is just your check here. But on Monday, like I had to literally make it a priority of mine every week to make sure that you had a check at the end of the week. Yep.
You are now my priority.
Yeah, it's like that's a lot. That takes away creativity. That takes away the thought process of like, I'm gonna spend 3 days on this portrait or this helmet or this design. Mm-hmm. And if it's not done on Friday, it's not done on Friday. But when you were here, or when I was over like cumbered with like fucking responsibilities like that, it's like the art suffered. And now that I've like slowly been able to transition into a little bit more freedom mm-hmm. with my career,
more solo now.
I'm more excited about really tapping into myself as an artist, because I've stripped away all the weekly requirements, and I've got my life financial situation to a budget that's easily obtainable. But then it's like, like when you come in the garage, like I don't know about you, but every once in a while I'm like, I need to work on this, but I'm not ready to jump in it now, because I'm not the kind of guy
daily struggle
that can jump in and then stop. Like I'm in it and I'm in it till it's done. And sometimes that's a bad thing, because
that's a daily struggle. I
don't like this. Like today, before you come, I was like, man, I got a lot of shit I got to get done by this time. Like I was doing this portrait back here, mm-hmm. and I was kind of worried about it, because I'm a monkey see, monkey do guy. So if your picture's shitty, your airbrushed picture is going to be shitty.
Especially if you're trying to mimic somebody.
Yeah, so I'm
trying to copy somebody. I mean, if that freckle's not there, that person is going to know that her mom's freckle is not there, and it's not going to look like her mom or her dad. I mean,
and if you place it there on your own free will, it's not going to fucking look like it's supposed to be there,
because it'll be wrong.
Because it'll probably be, it won't be a circle like we're thinking of freckle. It might be a fucking triangle because of the angle of the picture.
No, you're exactly right.
Like when dudes are like, hey man, I really want to put my wife on my helmet, but her body's kind of shitty, dude. So can you take her face and put her on Pamela Henderson's body?
I've never had that requested.
Not specifically, but I've had that kind of shit all the time. Awkward. I'm like, how insulting would it be if you're the dude's wife and you're like,
and you have to present that to her.
Like, oh, you painted my face on a 20-year-old's body. What the fuck, Craig? You know what I mean?
Come on, Craig.
So it just, I don't know where we got on that.
I'm just rambling.
What's the like the fabric work that you've done? Like I've seen the engine bays, the fucking bike that you built out of all metal. Was it a bagger, right?
Yeah.
The concept was a bagger. It's like,
Yeah.
that shit was just so complicated. Like, how do you and it's all, what I like about it, and I think it's really popular now, is like the angles. It's all angles of like metal. It's not like this smooth, like Dick Tracy Art Deco shit. It's like angled out. Like it's got this fucking vibe that's cool as shit. And the engine bays as well look like that when I've seen you metal them out.
That's, I mean, I don't know what's harder or what's easier. Not that it matters. It is, no matter what, it's a challenge. And I guess the challenge when it comes to doing the angles is,
there's a lot of math in there, right? A little bit of...
I don't use math. I use visual.
Yeah.
One side, or each angle has to complement another angle. It has to either be in line with it or it has to flow with other lines.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the challenge of it. To me, like that bike was really, really crazy. It was everything. It was so many pieces to it and so many different parts. And the owner wanted to pretty much just cover everything as much as possible. And he wanted to do something different. He really liked the Victory. I don't remember which model the Victory bike it was, but there was a Victory bike that just came out, and I think it was like a prototype or something like that. And he gave me a picture. He's like, "Man, I want something like this." Well, me already kind of digging the whole straight edge, hard line type style, it was at the F-35 jet, things like that. I really like that because, again, like you said, everything's curved and, rounded out, and it just, I wanted to do something different. I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to try to do something that wasn't out there already. And Victory already seemed like they was already trying to, go to that direction. And he was just kind of goofing off. He just wanted just a different bike. I was like, all right, cool. Hold this and let me do what
do you find more like satisfying, creating an exact curve of two different things, or is it more of the, like, I see the aspect of it being very difficult to create like round surfaces that are identical, but is the finished product as pleasing as something that is more visually accepting? You know what I mean? Like almost like is a process to do something, does it overpower the finished product if the finished product it's easier but looks cooler? If that makes sense.
I don't really, if the finished product, that's where I get selfish. If I like that finished product, if that's what I envisioned, and that's, of course, a couple of stipulations that I have to go through. To me, that's what's satisfying. Again, that goes back to either you're going to hate it or you're going to like it, one or the other. But it doesn't really matter just as long as I like it, because that's what I wanted to do. That was my personal piece. Even though you're paying me to do it, that's my personal piece. And to me, that's what's satisfying. And they always end up liking it. But going back to what I enjoy the most and what's most satisfying is, even though I've built this, I've done, this thing is all crazy looking. It's got all these crazy angles. It is as dumb as it sounds. I take more pride in the way things are mounted, countersunk, how things are hidden,
the functionality,
the little small things that people don't notice. And that's the sad part, because nobody notices to give you any kind of credit for it. But those are the things that I really enjoy doing. Those are the things that are satisfying to me, is being able to kind of keep something, even though it's crazy looking, but it would still look like a factory would have done it, or factory would have built it, That's satisfying, just the little small details that nobody pays attention, like all the armatures and stuff, the way the bags and stuff, the lids are going to lift up, automatic. I made all that stuff from scratch. I mean, I know you can go in and go buy the little, the linear, actuators and stuff like that, but I wanted to build my own,
Yeah.
Those are the things that I enjoy doing, that just the mechanical aspect.
Well, I guess that's what I get at, is because, like, in my mind, you're also, very talented as a painter and very talented as a fabricator, and both of them are like lifelong endeavors of being like masterful at, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like, how do you really juggle the growth in either one of them without sacrificing the growth in another?
Daily struggle.
It's,
I can, and I know, just like you said, you just get done with paint sometimes. I just want to get on my bike and I just want to ride.
Yeah.
I'm done with painting. Well, you doing that to me is like, okay, I'm done with painting right now. I want to just go weld. And that's all I want to do. I just want to go build something. And
that makes sense. Yeah.
And create things, And I mean, I've got brakes and slip rolls and shears and stuff at the house. Drill press. I've got everything that I need at the house to just go in there and tinker and play and just create these things for customers. And as cool as that is, and as exciting as I get, it's just like, I'm done with that now. I want to paint something, so I can just go back.
It's a good balance, I guess. Yeah.
And even that.
Because the same thing, like you just said, like when I'm on a trip and after I've like shed away all these like mind things, I miss work and I'm ready to get back and I'm re-energized. And it's almost like it's almost like recharging my battery every time on these trips. You know what I mean?
That one project is coming in that you dreaded, all of a sudden on the way back home, you just like all these ideas just started coming up to make this project a lot better, and now you're excited about it.
It's almost like you decluttered your mind, or you defragged your fucking disc, you know what I mean? And now you're ready.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yep. It's, sometimes we just got to do that. We got to step away, and that's my stepping away sometimes if my wife doesn't drag me out by my neck, is to just do something different.
Have you like found things within the fabrication world that you wanted to pursue, or is it more, are you more focused on like wanting to pursue more of the artistic side of it, or more like, I guess a lot of people that I know in the fab world are like what's the word, their gears get rolling because they want to build a bike or a certain style of bike or a certain product or a certain thing on a bike. I mean, like what's the juice that makes you want to create? Is it just
things that nobody thinks about doing, I guess? Those things that people don't normally think about that would even be possible. There's a guy that I follow, I think it's Sosa. Dude is sick.
He built that one whole fucking body out of aluminum, and that dude is so beautiful.
Local guy here, was it William Blake, I think is his name, or I'm not sure, but I mean, these guys, I mean, the way they do the sheet metal forming and stuff like that, it's crazy. I could never even hold a candle to what they do when it comes to that stuff. But I also don't want to do that. I don't want to replicate a car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're great at it, and I mean, it's phenomenal how they do it, but I don't want to be the guy to replicate that car. I want to be the guy that could take that, maybe that aspect, and change it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want to do something different because the car's already been built. You know what I mean? And to me, the talent that they have, and of course it's different strokes for different folks, but the talent that they have, to me, in my mind, I'm sitting back thinking, dude, you can just create a completely different vehicle, with the skills and the mindset that they have. That to me would be exciting to take that skill into something completely analogy, kind of like that bike that I built.
I got a good analogy with that. As an airbrush guy, I could obviously airbrush, and you as well can airbrush just about anything we want. But when we airbrush a picture of something that somebody knows, when I airbrush Samuel Jackson, like, oh shit, that's Samuel Jackson.
Yep.
It's almost like there's a wow factor in the media aspect of it, to where people will have a reference point, and then oh shit, that dude made that by hand. That makes it more valuable to someone's eyes, as opposed to like, oh wow, what is that? The what is that trumps the, oh shit, that was made by hand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and if somebody can recognize something, they'll definitely appreciate it. And that's where I'm, really appreciate what they do. Again, when it comes to me, sometimes I just build some off the wall stuff, or I create something just totally doesn't make any sense. But they're either gonna like it or they're gonna hate it.
It goes back to that, like, how do you become the next H.R. Geiger if
you don't
everybody is only going to compare you to a previous thing or something they've already known? Like, how do you become something that's its own thing?
Yeah. And it's like, I like what you're doing right now. You're incorporating the portraits and the helmets. I mean, nobody's
simple.
done that. Yeah,
it's simple.
But it speaks a lot because it's so busy and you've got so much stuff going on with such little.
Dude, my buddy Brad, I don't know if you met him. You did his tank for me a long time ago. My buddy Brad used to had that green bagger we built a long time ago. He was over here earlier today, and we were just kind of shooting the shit. And, it was like me and him hanging out in the garage 2 years ago when I did my first Simpson helmet. And he was the one that pressured me into doing the panel paint jobs. And then I added the airbrush element on the top, and I was like, man, who would have thought fucking 2 years later, after doing like being drunk in the garage and airbrushing fucking drunk on the front of the helmet, that these things would be like paying my rent, paying my bills, paying my livelihood. Like, it's super fucking surreal sometimes.
I think sometimes we have to try to trust our actual inner personality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think I find myself, you know, being inspired by the trends and stuff, and even though I'm looking for that to spark my own, I think sometimes I tend to try to keep it in that direction. But you come up with some off the wall stuff like that nobody's ever seen before, that's going to grab somebody's attention. You know, that's, you know, like the little comments you put on the front of those, you know, who would have thought to do some stupid stuff like that, you know? But everybody loves it because it's funny. It's either funny or it's just badass, you know? Nobody's done that before, so you captured an audience that's like, man, I gotta have that.
Well, you know, a lot of it was stemmed because I hate theme things, like theme this.
Yep.
But this topic's been brought up on the podcast before, but when I used to do fine art, when I would go to like lowrider shows and car shows, I would airbrush pop culture people like rappers or fucking, you know, R&B artists, because it would draw the crowd, because they'd be walking by like, oh shit, is that fucking Rihanna? Like, you paint Rihanna? And I'm like, yeah, bitch, what's up? You know?
right.
And but, so it's like it got
you out there.
Yeah, it was something that people knew and they brought them to it. And it's like, if I was out there doing my own thing, like say if you were out there at a lowrider show doing your, you know, building sculptures, like there would be people that would come up and be appreciative of the art that you're doing.
But they would have
half of those chicks with fucking nails that will wrap around their hands and, you know, probably rode the bus there. I'm not trying to be racist or anything, but just in lowrider show, you know, half these people don't have any reference to it. And unfortunately in this day of age,
like a pile.
Yeah. It's just like you want to find something that's like relatable to people, but also cool.
Right. You know, I'm kind of, you know, I envy you when you was doing the portraits and stuff like that, or, you know, the canvases, because you got to be able to do that. At the time, it was
practice, man.
And I would try to do that. It's almost like I got forced into the automotive side like real quick when it comes to paint work and stuff like that. I mean, it's like a do or die. So I just jumped in it and did it, and I figured out I liked it, you know. And it's almost like I bypassed all that, and I had to kind of figure it out myself. But when it comes to the portraits and things, like the ones I like doing the most is like I did one. Probably my favorite one was the one Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah,
when it was. It's not a typical. It's not what people would think would be like on the cover of the. It's always a random scene, some moment in a scene that those are the things that I like to do if it has to come to some sort of realism or something like that. Yeah. But I really would like to start playing with being a little bit more creative when it comes to portraits now, because I don't know if I want to do them.
Yeah,
you know. And I know that gets you popular, and I know they get you noticed, because again, like you said, you got to have something that people can relate to, because they don't think the way we do. But I would like to experiment a little bit more with just being a little bit more creative, whether it be dark or over sexual or whatever you want to, whatever it may be, you know, whatever music I've got, I want to just be able to play a little bit more into.
Well, would you actually, like, playing back to our music conversation and the art conversation, would you think that, like, maybe for our generation and before, there was a much more appreciation for the simplicity of music, of this, of that? And now with us being like our culture so over forced with art and fashions of it, whether it be, you know, music or television or movies and everything we see on Instagram and social media, it's like we're so forced with so much of it that, like,
it's hard to focus.
Think about it. Like, this brings me back to a good point. Like, fucking Tool, right? So the last album they came out with was 10,000 Days, and that was in 2006. And I probably literally just stopped for like weekly or at least daily listening to something from Tool about 2 years ago. Maybe it was the last time I was like, fuck, man, like
something different.
Kind of over it now, you know? So it's like back in the day, like when somebody would release an album or they'll release music or they'll release a movie, like that was it. Like you enjoy that shit, motherfuckers, for a couple of years, and like then it got to a point where people were releasing an album every year, and then the quality of the creativity went down.
They were just trying to bang them out. They were just trying to make money.
Just to make money. And corporate world got their way into everything.
And I love how people, and I always see people get on there and they're always complaining about Tool and, oh man, where's another album? That's all they want to do is another album. And sometimes I feel like, don't rush it, because that's the reason why you like them so much anyway, because they've never rushed their albums. They, you know, they're not like, my wife calls them Five Finger Discount. Was it Five Finger Death Punch? You know, they're banging out albums, every 3 months? You know, I mean, it's more about money, it seems like, to them, you know, and they're just trying to generate.
Yes,
you know.
it's kind of the same concept with the podcast. So if I release 6 podcasts this month, then I get more listeners per month, and then I get more, what do you call it? Like it's more valuable to sponsors. But if I just release like 3 really long ones that have a lot of depth in it, then I don't get as much listeners per download.
Yeah, but you're not forcing your views, and you're not forcing your ways of thinking onto people like I would think like music does. You know, music, like if that's all you ever listen to, Five Finger Death Punch, you're sitting there listening to their views and they're just cramming that down your throat. You, on the other hand, it's completely different, because you're always inviting, you know, people on to get different points of views, different inspirations, different, you know, whether people can relate to it or not, it's still there, you know. And sometimes we're all just people. I mean, we all screw up. We're all dumb. We're all smart. We're all, you know, in certain ways. But some people don't, you know. It's like here recently, I reached out to you, you know, and like I told you, I said, I don't think you realize how much these podcasts. I mean, just the things. It doesn't even really have to be so inspiring, but just to hear somebody else talk about the problems and the issues that they go through, and you can kind of relate to some of that, you know, like, damn, you know, I'm not the only one. I'm not half retarded anyway, you know, like you think, you know, sometimes you think that you're in this hole and you can't get out of it, and you're just creative funk, and, oh, I'm doing this wrong, or I got this to do, and oh my, you know, things are, you know, normal adult problems are happening, you know, but sometimes you just got to listen to a different point of view, and that helps you, that snaps you out of it. And that's why I reached out to you. I don't think you realize how much you're helping people, you know.
Just this stuff helps me, man. Fuck all that.
And I can see how it can. I can see how, and it's helped me just listening. You know, I mean, it's a relief. You know, it's a breath of fresh air to hear other people. You know, I'm not so screwed up. You know, I'm not. Am I the only person that does? No, I'm not the only person that goes through this. You know, I mean.
Well, like I said, man, it's one of those things, man. Like just, and I was thinking about this today. You know, because a close friend of mine that I started my old shop with, I talked about it on my personal podcast, and I actually talked about it in the intro to this one, but I was talking about how, like, a friend of mine helped me start a shop. He saw potential in me. He had money to kind of invest in me, and it's kicked off my old business, which was that Live Fast Customs thing. Mm-hmm. Great friend of mine, great dude to this day. And this weekend, like, of course, we've kind of grown different ways and different stuff, so our like day-to-day friendships aren't as like tight as they were 10 years ago.
Sure.
But, you know, his, you know, he had a gender reveal party this last weekend, and I fuck with all my friends when they're like, I'm like, hey, dude, we're going drinking or we're going riding this weekend. Like, oh, man, I got to go to a gender reveal party with my fucking wife and her friends. I'm like, that's fucking gay, dude. Like, you should not go. Like, that's stupid. Like, why are you going? Go. And I had to, like, eat my words and say, like, you know, like, that was pretty cool seeing my friend and his wife. But of course, it's my friend. If it was my wife's friend that I didn't have a connection with them, I probably wouldn't have a give a fuck in the world. But seeing my friend find out he was having what he wanted to have, it just, dude, it is awesome. It really was. But it made me realize, like, fuck, man, like, and I have no idea where I was going with this, but, you know, it was just like I really lost where I was going with that.
It's a reset. Maybe that's where you were going. It's kind of like a reset of who we are as a, you know, even though we want to, who we think we are, we're, you know.
Oh yeah. So, what it was I was like, man, we haven't talked much this year. We've only talked a couple times, but I was like, I reached out to him today. I goes, hey man, you know, you've done tons and tons of like his whole life is military, right? And every time I'm around him, I'm like fascinated by his stories of talking about, we're in Djibouti, which is a country that I didn't even fucking know. And he's telling me all this crazy shit about it. I'm like, fuck, I'm just sitting there like this, like a story time still, like listening to these great stories of different cultures he's involved in. So I was like, you know what, dude? For all the military people out there that listen to this, like, I want you to be on here, and I want you to talk about, like, fuck the motorcycles, fuck the art. Just talk about, like, what it's like in the military from being, what do you call it, like being in the service itself, and then transferring into contracts is what he's been doing for the last like 10 years. And I was like, you know what? I'm a fucking asshole, because I haven't talked to this dude almost all year. And then I saw him this weekend, and it popped in my head. I'm like, hey, dude, let's have a friends conversation and just catch up, but let me record it. It's like, hey, people don't talk anymore, so now we record it because it's so rare that we record it and put it online for people to listen to.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we're
Conversations are losing their...
I think, well, I don't know. I think it's kind of coming back, actually. I don't know, with the whole political temperature and people not being able to trust nothing, and I think people, come back to these podcasts, and even like your buddy, somebody may need to hear a story.
I think so.
Somebody may need to going through the same thing he's going through, and there's some things that he's maybe not even revealing to anybody, and it may come out, and it may be a life changer for him. There's some kind of anguish or some kind of memory that he can't put away, or it may come out and he may save his life. You never know. I mean, not that but you may change it, so. And then the other hundreds of thousands of people that could be listening to it, you may be changing their lives too, because this guy's doing the same thing, or went through the same thing.
Well, it changed mine, man. Like I said, like when I would reach out to people when we first started this podcast, I reached out to people that I knew and that I found interesting, right? And then, obviously as it's grown and I've done research on more and more people that in the industry and stuff like you, so you're just adding to this whole conglomerate of whatever it is. But it is, man, like conversations, man, they're fucking awesome. And I mean, realistically, that's all we ever do as guys. Like if like a meaningful experience with a friend, it's because you had a great talk. Like it's really that simplistic in life sometimes, just conversation.
Yeah, because I think I mean, to be honest with you, I probably was a little bit more social than I, before social media, when it comes to, more organic conversations like we're sitting here now. But, when starting out again, going back, I didn't know anybody, I mean, the only people I knew was Joe Martin, Airbrush Fiddle, Mike Learn, those guys. Those are pretty much the only three people that I knew that airbrush. That's all I used for reference. I didn't know anything else, or whatever car shows we went to, whether it be Autorama or Good Guys back then. Yeah, but you didn't know the artists.
It was a lot more cutthroat then, though, too, because you were also competing with those guys, and
and then all of a sudden somebody introduced me to Instagram, and I was like, man, I ain't gonna do no Instagram. It's kind of dumb, but I started Instagram, and I got me a little, profile going. This was back in 2013 or 14. And then I was like, holy shit, it's loud. It's loud. Just everything coming at you with all these artists. And I had no clue of how many artists that were out there. Yeah. People that were already starting, and I feel like, damn, I'm way behind. Yeah. I mean, these people are like selling or doing this or doing that. Like, holy shit, look what he's doing. God, that looks real. Man, that's bad. It was just a big
overload,
mind fuck of just creativity that, number one, it was inspiring as hell. And number two, I was just like, I felt kind of alone. I felt like, because at the time I kind of thought I was the shit, just from the little things that I did do. But then you go in there and it's like, man, I ain't nobody. I am nobody, but it's helped me get better and better and better. It's made me want to get better and try new things.
It's an ego check, man. It's an ego check.
Exactly. I mean, it humbles you up. It's
Dude, what I love about Instagram is that every time I feel like I do something badass, some fucking dude in Thailand or Japan comes out with some shit that just shits on everything I thought was awesome, and I'm like, okay, I suck again.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And exactly, and it's like, there was somebody, I think his name was Center Roots.
Roots, yeah.
And man, he did like this. I think it's him. It was him. He does all the textured and stuff, and I was like, man,
the leaves and different. That's that old sign painter technology shit. That dude,
I had no idea how he did it.
Dude, there's this dude like Dave Smith Artist or something like that does nothing but like glass gilding, and they do all these different textures in the glass to give like the leaf like a you've done it on your helmets. You see all the textures in it,
right?
And I even asked you one time about it, but dude, there's so many like tricks out there that are resurfacing from different, like the sign painting industry to custom paint. It's like a resurgence of it, and the like Center Roots and the King's 1950 or whatever his name is, and a whole bunch of people out there in Thailand. They're on some other shit out there.
Man, they're out there in flip flops and a tarp, and they're just happy as they can be airbrushing and doing all this crap.
Yeah.
I mean, not Center Roots obviously, but there's some people out there that do some amazing work, and we're grappling because it's 65 degrees in the garage. They're out here in a damn tsunami out here painting mopeds and stuff, and they're doing good work. And they're happy as they can be. They got little cigarettes, but it's kind of a slap in the face of who we are. But yeah, I mean, those guys, going back to the center roots deal, it's like, man, I gotta try that. I have no clue. Again, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing when it comes to the leafing at the time. I was like, I still don't really know. I see your stuff. You do all the little spin turns. I'm like, man, fuck this guy. Every time I see you, do your, and I was like, because I didn't quite figure that out yet. There's that special window, and I'm always wanting to rush it. I'm always like, man, I gotta start doing that. But anyway, so I was trying to figure out what he was doing as far as the texture. So guy gave me a welding helmet one time. He's like, hey man, paint it up, do whatever you want to. I'm like, hell yeah. So I'm gonna try this,
Yeah.
So believe it or not, all I did was, of course I prepped it and I scuffed it, and then I had everything ready to go. I took some primer and I mixed it up, no reducer, no anything, and I put a little activator in it, and I just turned the air pressure down real low and just got the primer on there, just made it as textured as possible on the surface of this helmet. Before it flashed out, I went real quick with a quick coat of clear coat, and before that flashed out, that's when I stuck and just got it all dabbed in there. Of course, stuff was messed up, but it turned out like crap, but at the end of the day, I got to be able to hide it with some of the other graphics and stuff. But those are the things I like to do. I like to just practice and do stupid stuff that doesn't make sense, that probably nobody would ever try. They're gonna, oh, you can't do that, but.
Well, that's what creates innovation in what we do is those
mistakes.
Experiments and mistakes. Yeah,
things that pretty much, I seen somebody commented on a post the other day. It's like, oh my God, another artist. It was I don't know what it was, but I felt like coming on and it's like, man, everything that you experience right now, that you're holding in your hand, that you're driving, that you open up to get fresh food out of, it has something to do with an artist. Some kind of imagination created that thing in your hand that you're living with. You got to have artists. Oftentimes they get forgot about because big company comes in and takes the idea and they run with it, and they obviously make it better. But everything that we experience came out of somebody's imagination. Mm-hmm. It has to, And to hear people like, oh, we got enough artists in the world, and it's like, dude, it's just, I don't know. But,
well, I mean, usually it's something like somebody that has no input or they're not providing anything to the world. I don't know, man. Like, I hate to judge people or anything like that, but
I do too.
I don't get wrapped up, man. I don't get wrapped up in comments. I don't get wrapped up in fucking any of that shit. I mean, I say that, but
I know, it's a rabbit hole.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, there's certain things that trigger me into feeling a certain kind of way, but realistically, someone's opinions, like, every once in a while I'll post a picture like, hey man, you think this is a good idea for a paint job? And everybody's giving me their opinion. Like, I honestly really am going to use it.
Right.
That line should be an inch higher. It'd be like way cooler. I'm like, all right, dude. Yeah, for sure. You're so right. Like, this was a,
and then you're like, and then you go on their profile and they're driving, it's like, man, come on.
Was a hypothetical question, or is that what or what it is, or a rhetorical question? Mm-hmm. There you go. So it's like I'm just saying, I just put a question mark in there for fucking beauty purposes, dude. I don't really care what you think.
Just some interaction to get some damn bored tonight. I want to hear my phone go off,
But I do like input for people, but I don't want people to tell me how to do what I'm doing. Like, hey, do you like it? Yes, no, cool.
Yeah, just tell me, nah, or I've seen better.
Not into it.
Yeah, not into it, or oh man, I love it. Don't tell me, well, why don't you do this? Well,
yeah.
I'll do it for you.
But also, like, if you ask a question, some people are like, well, they want to spill it out for you and shit. So it's like I can't be that critical on the fact that I asked a question and I got more than the answer I was wanting. So, but no, it's I don't know, man. It's a weird climate, man. Like, I heard someone bring up the other day, talking about social currency. You ever heard of that term?
I have not.
And I haven't done any research on it, so my comments or my thought of it's super ignorant right now. But social currency, and I'm just thinking, like, what does that mean? And it's like some kind of form of fashion where our social media world and our
credit
of it, I guess, is becoming in some form of fashion some type of currency. If that makes any sense, like, it's almost like I'm not opposed to it, but I'm also like I said, I'm a complete contradiction, because there's a part of me that has embraced all of this technology and everything going on, and I'm like trying to play the game as good as I could. But there's this part of me that just wants to be alone in the woods with my wife and maybe see my friends every once in a while, and has no connectivity to the world and just wants to be a ghost.
Yep.
So that's like my romantic, like, fantasy life is that, but the life I live in is where, everything in my life is on some type of like Front Street. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like from chaos to peace.
Yeah.
I made it a point this last summer. Matter of fact, the last couple summers, we got bringing up the boat again. We got a boat, and we just made it a point to just get out every weekend. And it got to a point where that's what we were doing. Every weekend we'd go to the lake and just chill and relax,
Yeah.
and that was my break.
Yeah, so I was I just had a thought and I was trying to think of, but what do you think, like, for you and yourself, like, with everything that you do, like, do you set yourself up with, like, types of goals that you're trying to achieve within yourself, or where you want to take your art, or where you want to take, like...
And that's a question that I ask myself every day. Where do I want to go with this? Going back to what you said about pigeonholed, I do not want to be pigeonholed or, into a certain media or certain form or certain... I mean, I guess in a perfect world, my goal would be just the dude in the shop that just builds and paints shit. Just anything elaborate, crazy. I want to be that guy. I don't even know if there's a category for it. I mean, it's like trying to define that. I mean, other than just artist, but artist is kind of generic.
I almost feel like not saying you, but like the term artist, I feel like is a term that you're not allowed to give yourself. It's something that someone else gives you.
Exactly.
But no. So think about it like this: like, what do you ever ponder your legacy or your, like, as an artist? Is it not to leave something behind, to be remembered by? Is that more of an arrogant thing to think of?
Some people, they hold. To me, I think it's just, I don't know, because who's to say? I mean, if you think about all the people that's in the world right now, and there's not very many people in comparison that has left something behind, and think of all the artists like you and I that have came and gone, and nobody has really. What am I trying to say? I
know what you're saying.
It's like all the kids that want to be, football stars. I mean, how many millions of children or high school or college kids want to be, pro football or NBA? Not very many people make it. It's really not. Nobody really makes a mark in that area. But I don't know if I've really put too much pressure on myself to leave a mark, I guess. I mean, you
like when it comes to like building a bike or a car or, a business for that aspect, there are certain people in our industry, in the automotive and motorcycle industry that literally have a legacy now that they didn't seek that. It just is a part of their hard work. And I guess maybe the fact
that's
that
exactly
I'm looking at what is my legacy. It's almost like I'm ruining myself of ever having one because I'm questioning it,
And that's exactly right, because just like you said, I'm not trying to, that's not my goal. But like you said, these people, they weren't expecting that. They just did what they wanted to do, and that's how they became who they are. So I think if you pressure yourself too much into trying to be remembered for a certain thing or a certain aspect or something, I think you'll not ever be there, because I don't know, it's strange. I think if you just do yourself and be you and just screw up and practice and make things, and it's going to come around. Look, Geiger, he would have never guessed he would have been where he was, and look what he ended up on movie sets,
But at the same time, like, you still have to pay attention to pushing your art or your shit out there. I mean, think about how many Geigers are out there that were just hermit crabs in a garage, never coming out to show the world what they're doing. Yep. And there might be this fucking basement full of amazing paintings somewhere that's just kind of like hidden away, because you have to also consciously put your work out there for people to see. I mean, I take it like Geiger was building some cool shit. People were inspired by his artwork, and then opportunities came, and he took those opportunities and capitalized off of them. Just like guys like, Alex Gray, the guy that does all the artwork for Tool.
Yep.
Earlier you had said something about being pigeonholed, which I think is a lot of artists don't want to be that. But I mean, like, could you imagine, like I said, I know we're referencing people that you guys might not know, but Alex Gray is one of my most favorite artists of all time.
Absolutely.
but his work is all within the realm of his work. It's all the same, like an Alex Gray piece, and and I don't think that I mean, I hate to say that he's pigeonholed, but I mean,
and that's again, these are the struggles that I like. I'm kind of going back and saying that I haven't found myself, because to me, it's like I value oil paintings over airbrush.
And that's the world values oil paintings over airbrush. So how do we turn airbrush into oil? How do we turn the art that we do, that we make a living on, into something that's valued more sentimental to people? And that's what I've, not saying that that's exactly what I was trying to do when I created my helmets, but that's what it's evolved into, is that now I'm creating something that has more meaning to the customer or to the owner of it than physically just, I want something cool on my helmet.
Yeah, I think people want they want the blood, sweat, and tears they want that hanging on their wall.
They want to be moved. They want a sentimental value, or they want to be moved by it. And
I think
I've seen paint jobs on cars and bikes that I've like looked at, like legit art pieces, and been like, wow, like these colors are making me feel a certain way. This artwork, this flow is like challenging my thought. Like I've seen paint jobs like that, and to me that's what art's supposed to do.
You see the human, in oil paintings, you see the human, you see the brush strokes, you see the imperfections, and what we call imperfections, or maybe something that they purposely try to do. Airbrush is to me to get to that level of human. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's got its own place in art, but it's too perfect compared to oil paintings, I guess you could say. I don't know. I know there's a lot more steps and a lot more patience when it comes to oil paintings. You got to wait and dry and let the stuff, But I know that people, when they are, again, that goes back to me, I don't want to be pigeonholed. It's a struggle for me, because I know that's what makes people Alex Gray. The colors, the genre, the themes, everything that he does. You've got, I brought him up earlier, Chetsar, he does all the crazy ghouls and the monsters and the, that's his style, but that's why he's famous. And if I keep not wanting to be pigeonholed, I'll never have that kind of name necessarily. Yeah. But just because I get bored too easy, and I don't really have anything that I'm really focused in on, but I think what's going to happen, or what I'm hoping that's going to happen, is I'm going to find something that's going to grab me. And it's like, all right, this is it. And maybe that's what they done when they were younger. They've tried all these different things, or this is what I tell myself.
Practice, and you're gonna find that.
You're gonna find something that's gonna grab you. It's like, man, that's me. That's my personality. That's my soul, and I want to continue to keep doing this. And you don't care about anything else. All of a sudden, the world just stopped. Your whole creative history just stopped, and you're just now on this path. And then that's what's gonna make you. That's what's gonna leave your your footprint behind. That's what you're gonna be known for, is that. But I think searching for it, trying to leave a mark, I think you may try too hard.
Yeah, I agree. Not only are you trying too hard, but when you get in that mindset, you kind of added a lot more pressure on top of the normal everyday pressures you have of trying to be creative and be an artist and be just an adult that pays his bills,
Right.
But the other thing that I was also thinking of, in my recent, ideas of like everything when it comes to art is I look at these bikes and these helmets as my canvas, and I know that's something that everybody says, but let's think about that. Like Dali's canvas and fucking H.R. Geiger's canvas, that's way different, and that made them famous and it made them legacy and all these great things. But a lot of people don't value an airbrush artist. I mean, like Drew Blair is one of the most amazing realism guys in the world. I don't see anybody fucking buying his paintings, but I'm sure they do, but you don't see him as regarded as it's more of a as seen on TV kind of thing. Like, oh wow, like that's airbrush, like that's more of a gimmick. I hate even saying it. It's not a gimmick in his artwork because it's phenomenal, but it's gimmick how we perceive it.
Going back to him, he was probably one of the first people that I stumbled upon that just shot me down. I was just like, oh crap, I suck,
Yeah.
And because I've never heard of this guy, until Instagram. I try to put myself into a regular person. I say regular, I'm not saying just the normal people,
normal mindset. Yeah.
you put a piece of his work right next to the photo, the actual photo that he used, and it's really hard to tell. We as artists can, but the normal person wouldn't be able to tell the difference, and they would just walk on by. They wouldn't give it any other thought. The only people, to me, that give that any kind of thought are the artists.
Yeah.
Those are the only people that really, when it comes to that detail, that hyper realism, when it comes to that, it's only us artists that appreciate it, and what am I trying to say? I guess it's all these, not all that he's contributing to, but it's just, obviously he's creating something from the classes and helping people and doing this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, all these people that are learning this stuff are only trying to inspire other artists and not really inspiring the normal people. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah, think about it like this.
I'm rambling.
No, think about it like this. So, and for anybody that's an art history nerd, I'm sorry if I'm gonna fuck all this up, but basically, everybody, like, painting portraits was a huge thing in our past of human civilization, right? And then when photography came along, the need for people who could paint left. It was gone. So what did painters do? They created Monet. They created, abstract. They created all these things that are like, hey, this is still cool, and it's not an actual photorealism oil painting of King whoever the fuck. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So they created new art movements because of the fact that a hand painted or an actual artist got phased out because photography took over that.
That makes total sense. I never thought of it.
And a lot of people didn't realize that. A lot of people didn't realize that the same thing that the printer did to the sign painting industry, the photo did to the painter in the 1800s. You know what I'm saying? So
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, so I mean, in that literally created a whole art movement. It created Dali. It created Picasso. It created fucking Andy Warhol and so many other people that instead of like becoming a traditionalist painting Mona Lisas and fucking George Washington standing on fucking so-and-so hill, whatever it is.
Now you're getting something a camera can't capture.
Exactly.
And it's coming out of somebody's head, out of somebody's imagination, instead of just what they see. That makes sense.
Think about it. Like most of the paintings of the past have always been like recreations of stories, whether they're biblical or just things that actually happened. And it wasn't until that recent last 100 years when photography kind of took away the just recreation of that it forced people to dig deeper and find something else interesting. Like I said, before then, who the fuck in the 1800s was worried about a Dali painting or some shit that they didn't understand? Like, hey, look, I need a picture, and then we got to fucking fight these Indians, motherfucker. We got more shit going on than this. You know what I mean?
Right.
We have shit to do.
We got bills. But no, it makes total sense. I never even thought of it that way. But yeah, I mean, the camera, it's kind of like wraps, vehicle wraps. Everybody, I know I was kind of worried about it. Not that my livelihood was dependent on it at the time, but I was doing a lot of race cars and stuff like that. And at the time, a lot of the race car people were getting wraps and this, that, and the other. And we thought, oh no, that's going to be the end of paint and custom paint. It's like, I was really concerned about it. And then it got to where it's like, no, it really ain't. Well, people still want that. People still want that authenticity, that creative hand on there. And I mean, the wraps are cool. Great for businesses, stuff like that. You got, such and such fence company or, whoever roofing company. That's perfect for that because us as artists, we're not going to want to paint logos like that all day long on the side of a truck, nor would they have the budget for it. But, exactly. To do multiple trucks like that. So obviously now, yes, wrap is a lot.
It's found its market.
Yes, definitely. But it's nothing like what I was concerned with at one time, with being that it's going to take.
Well, that's how they came on the scene. They came on the scene like, why custom paint? Just wrap it. You know what I mean? They were like trying. I think that our culture put them in their place, but they didn't realize where they would be most profitable when they came out. They were just trying to. It feels like they were trying to put the painters under when realistically they filled the gap that was just there. Like, dude. We're in Texas. How many fucking Houston rappers and Dallas rappers had fucking blinged out fucking vans going around passing out CDs and shit? Yeah. 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, there was a market for that. And like you said, trailers, fucking tour buses, vans, business stuff. Like, that's where it's at. Fucking windows on storefronts. Like, dude, wrap that shit. You know what I mean?
You know, and I used to always kind of laugh at that stuff, but I guess the one thing that I do appreciate with the wrap is when you have the people with the, you know, your Ferraris and your Lambos and stuff like that, when they, instead of painting that car, they keep it the same, you know, and they just wrap it a different color, whether it be a matte black or a matte green or some kind of crazy chrome. I do appreciate that because they're not just going in and changing the original color
What
of
it is, yeah.
I don't know why I appreciate it, but I do. For something, I can see a use for that. Somebody who has got that much investment in such a car, such a vehicle, that instead of changing the color, just wrap it. You may like it, you may
sense,
not.
yeah.
You know, if you get sick of it, rip it off. You know, I appreciate that part of it. You know, but I was wrong. I thought it was going to take over. You know, the custom scene, but it didn't.
Well, you know, like
it took its own route. They were trying to. But it took an exit and went off into the advertising, which is perfect for them. They can stay in the advertising.
Dude, you know, going down another fucking rabbit hole, like advertising himself, like that whole market of like, what is advertising? God damn if that's not a huge fucking multi-gazillion dollar fucking industry of just everything is advertising. It's all because it's fucking write-offable. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's like you look at all this stuff, but you know, when you know, I just recently, the last podcast we put out was with Chris Callan, and he was talking about how people like millennials and all these different, you know, whatever you want to call certain age groups, they want a more tactile experience with stuff now. You know what I mean? Instead of technology overload, they want something to feel hand painted. They want something handmade. They want something.
They're going back. They're going back. No, to the original.
Well,
it's probably because everything is so generic. Is that or so
easily accessible?
Maybe, yeah. There's not. I mean, mass produced things. You know, there's no. Oh God.
Think about it like this. Like, you know, if you want to be smart, if we want to be smart business artists, we need to invent something as simplistic that we can sell for $1, like a fidget spinner, right?
Yep.
And you know, and I used to have this drunken conversation with all my friends' wives, because I like to argue with my friends' wives. I don't know why it is, but basically, it's like, who do you think's more profitable? The guy that's selling you the beer, or the guy that made the straw that's at every table on everything ever? The 1 cent item that's every fucking where. Like, I'm pretty sure the beer guy's probably more expensive, but as a drunk conversation to challenge your thought process, it's like, this straw is fucking. This guy is so rich. I want to be him. Fuck Dos Equis. I want to be this guy. You know what I mean? But that is it. It's like, it's really like you want to be the guy. You know, you don't want to be the guy that sells this one thing for $1 million. You want to sell 1 million things for $1. You know, that way, because no matter what, you have that much more out there. You have that much more. You know, ROI. Maybe you could possibly come back because you have. Think about it like this. Like, there's something romantic about being the poor painter that's just creating art through his struggles of life. Guess what, dude? I can't custom paint poor. This expensive. Shop, that compressor, all these tools, these paint guns, these materials, this shit ain't fucking some shit I can have on the shelf.
Bills like, don't and favors and lights don't stay on by favors.
Yeah,
you know?
So I mean, there's a different element to being an artist in this type of industry than it is if we were painting canvases in the basement of our fucking mom's house. You know what I mean?
You know, and it kind of goes back to my daily struggle too. You know, I mean, there's things that I want to go back and be able to paint, you know what I mean, on my own, just whatever it may be, just get it out, you know, just paint something. And I get inspired, you know, sometimes, you know, again, we're going back to, I'm more of an emotional type painter, I guess you could say. Like, I get in there and I listen to a lot of, you know, like orchestra and stuff like that. Steve Jovanowski, Clinton Shorter, all those guys, you know, and just kind of puts me in that mood, you know, kind of a whiny bitch mood, I guess you would say. Yeah. But that's when the emotion comes out, you know.
You break out the white Zinfandel.
Oh yeah, man, you're sitting there with candlelights, you know. But you know, sometimes you get in that mode and you just want to get it on a canvas. But man, just sitting there painting canvases, they ain't gonna pay the bills. You know, they're not gonna unless you're at a show, which I do plan on doing in the next couple of years, especially the next year is trying to attend more shows. But it's hard to just paint what you want and then not expect it to sell, but then try to sell it. You know, just some people just don't want. They want the mainstream stuff. You know, they want the graffiti and the, you know,
what's popular,
what's going. And some of that stuff is really cool, but then are you cheating yourself?
What do you think moves you though? Like when you look at like all the forms of art, what inspires you? Do you ever like find yourself watching a YouTube video that like has got you pumped, or listen? I mean, obviously music is a great motivator to all of us, but you know what I mean? Like other media forms that have inspired you?
No. They inspire me when I have a creative block, and that's usually when I turn to that. You know, when I have that, like I don't, or when I'm looking for color. You know, and sometimes I use, you know, just get on Google and I'll just, you know, I got this idea. Okay, well I'm gonna do red and green and gold. And I'll just type that in Google and just see what comes up. You know, just to kind of just get a, you know, just little things like that. I know I'm steering off, but I guess if there was anything that's going to get me motivated to do me, is going back again. That goes back to Ridley Scott and Prometheus and Alien, and H.R. Geiger, and all those movies, and that whole scene and that emotion, that feeling of, I guess it's the what if. The what if has always inspired me, and that's where it kind of comes into Tool, the music of Tool. The what ifs of life and what's out there, and where we come from, but that's sometimes I'll just get in there and I'll watch a movie and bam, I'll go right out in the garage and I'll just start, just hammering down. Yeah. Sometimes I don't even make sense of what I'm painting, and it doesn't make sense, and all of a sudden it just turns into something. Like I painted this girl, some crazy girl, and it kind of had a Geiger look to it, but I didn't know what the hell it was going to turn into, and it turned into some like just weird perverted looking painting, but it was really cool, Yeah. Couldn't show it on Instagram, but it was one of my favorite pieces, but it just, I don't know. It's weird. Some things inspire me, but for the most part, man, it's the, I don't know, the what ifs. The unknown. Those things like that are probably the scenes and the feeling and the emotion that really gets that blood going. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, since I started traveling with the bike stuff, and then I've seen a lot of like YouTube documentaries and different things online that like are kind of an artistic view of travel or of human struggle with, not human struggle like, oh, we're fucking trying to get water, but just the average like daily struggles that people deal with, that they're looking for purpose in life and things like that. And I found myself going through many different types of YouTube fucking binges and sinkholes, basically, is what I like to call them. Yeah. And I found something that I'm inspired in, as far as like as an artist. Like I'm inspired with the creativity of directing or having a vision for like video, but I don't know how to do video. Like I see it, and I want to create these like short films or whatever, but I have no fucking idea how to start. You know what I mean? And it's so hard, and I don't want to start.
Maybe it's not that hard. Maybe we're overthinking it. I'm bad about overthinking everything. Yeah. Oh, it's going to be so difficult. And sometimes it's just dumb stuff that people figure out. It's like, I don't mean to interrupt. Yeah, no, I was thinking about doing this little video, and I maybe try to put something back on YouTube. I used to do some YouTube videos, but I just kind of, I don't know. I guess I got lazy and stopped doing them. But I guess to me, on my part, the fun part about creating a video is making the video happen. Not so much of what the final product is, but the armatures. And I'm we were thinking about like electric motors and making some kind of panoramic, motorized camera while I'm working. It's playing all automatic. I mean, those things like that are fun to me. But when you see these videos, sometimes it's probably a lot simpler than what we think, and I think maybe we're just overthinking it, And
yeah, I think for me, it's like, okay, so like there's a like documentaries of people riding across country that were very moving to me. And as somebody that's experienced that, I feel like there's still a lot of untapped potential of showing viewers what it was really like, to inspire people to want to do that kind of thing, right? And I want to do it, but I don't know the first thing. Like what am I gonna, like, hey Chad, come over here and act like a biker for a couple days while I video you, and I'm gonna tell you how to act. Like, that's not genuine.
No,
right?
no,
so
you can't do that.
Do you find yourself in this weird thing where how do you find the actor, right? So I'm visualizing my life, my experiences. How do I find someone to play me and be behind the camera and be the guy that's like trying to capture this deal? You know what I mean? Like that's where I'm struggling being as, because I'm so like, I don't really want to be in front of the camera, but
You want to express
I
your
want it to be
experiences.
honest.
Right.
You know, like almost like I wish I could find someone that has like, that's me, but not me. You know what I mean?
Your character.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
character.
and-
Yeah, maybe it is just a character. Maybe it is just a finding, like writing a short story in my mind and then finding people to fill in that role that meet the role. I don't know, but I just want. I like doing
And
art.
you're trying to
that's-
do it yourself.
Yeah, I want to do art that's like whether it's, you know, I've assumed responsibility of things in my motorcycle industry. That's not my responsibility, but I feel like it is my obligation, like to do a lot of things. But when it comes to legacy, like I'll build a cool bike, I'll paint a cool bike, you know, I'll do this, that, and the other. But I'm more concerned about like creating an inspiration for people that want to try to do more.
An experience.
An experience, yeah.
Right.
So I want to like create. I want to make a video that people see and they're like, "Fuck! I want to do whatever I just watched. I want to experience that. That looks like everything in my life that I'm missing." And a lot of people will love it if they can see it the right way.
And there's a lot of people that probably need that.
And I mean, think about how like moving movies and music are. And it's like I think that, not to downplay what we do as art, but I feel like that is the most direct connection to people's psyche and to people's like inner.
Well, music's been around for how long?
Yeah. So
Day of time.
so yeah, so that's like one of those deals, man. I like I want to evolve like creativity. You know what I mean? Like maybe not that I'm over painting, but I kind of feel like maybe there's more untapped things out there. Like I'm 36 now, which I feel old as fuck, but I'm looking at it like I just hit the halfway point. You know what I mean? Like I'm halfway to 60. Or no, I'm halfway to 70. So I'm fucking up. But no, I look at like I've been an adult issue for like over 15 years now. So right. So another 14 years and I'm 50. And I'm not saying that when I'm 50 I'm over, but I feel like these are the crucial years of my life to really be creative and to make a mark. And you know, I've already thrown out the fucking like the cans of like, all right, you know what, I'm gonna build a multi-million-dollar business to set my kids up for a few. Yeah, my kids are fucked.
Right.
That's totally what's going on. But at least maybe I can be cool enough that my kids are proud that I'm their dad. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, but I don't know if that's so much pressure though. To me, it's like I just recently turned 38, and you know, we're in the second quarter of our life, pretty
Yeah.
much. You know what I mean? It's just they're not to say that we have so much ahead of us.
I hope we have like 6 quarters, man. to be
at
honest with
least.
you.
But
6 quarters, and we feel like we're 20 years old the whole time.
or the first third, maybe that makes it feel better. We're in the first, but
the first third.
if we live to 100, but you know, it's just I think it is what we make it. I think society now has got this level of what we're supposed to be as human beings today, and it's, I mean, think of the most stress-free people that you could go down to Deep Ellum right now and look at the homeless people. Those people have no stress. I don't know where I'm going with this, but
No, I get it.
you know, there's no stress whatsoever. And then everybody else who's driving the badass cars or the regular cars or live in badass houses or the regular houses, everybody's stressed out. You know, so I think it's society, everybody's trying to keep up with the Joneses, and us as artists, we feel like we have to keep up and we have to keep going, you know, further and further and further. And I think we lose grasp of just being ourselves, you know. That's, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what made, you know, Alex Gray famous. You know, he just stayed himself. That's what Geiger, you know, he painted his dreams. You know, it wasn't something that he was trying to, you know, mimic or got inspired by, other than just his own dreams, his own self. You know, and I think too many people are just getting wrapped up in, I don't know. It's,
Well, I mean, think about it like this. Like, think about like Geiger, right? So his dreams probably weren't overpopulated with social media overload like we have. Like we have anime and we have fucking all these things that are like, affecting our dreams. Like we'll be like fucking in a natural environment in our dreams. Next thing you know, fucking Pokemon runs up and as a cartoon, and we're like, holy shit, like what's going on here? And you know what I mean? So it's it's different. I think
his was earthworms when he was a child.
Yeah, so I feel like those mentalities are like kind of different. Like as someone that appreciates art, I think that we all have to it appreciates art, music, movies, cultures. We all have to look at the fact that this is the fucking field that we play on now, and it's way different than them. So we have to fine tune the shit that we have to filter it out more than they did. And I think that there's
it's harder to find our place.
Yeah,
it's harder to. I mean, our places as far as being popular or popularity are getting narrower and narrower because there's so much out there now. You know, back then nobody heard of those people. You know, they had a huge playing field. And now it's just you have so many great artists and so many different imaginations and ideas out there that you have to just kind of just weasel your way through the crowd. And it's hope like hell that you just keep going. And they, you know, and sometimes some people just, you know, that's not enough for them. They just kind of give up and they bail out and they go on some other kind of venture of their life and forget about art. And then here we are. That's, you know, that's what we can hope for. But there's just so much more influence out there today than there was back then. I mean,
like, also another thing, like think about the fact, like, you know, I was a huge architecture fan growing up, and I was a big fan of Frank Lloyd Wright as an architect, or in school going for architecture. And you know, a lot of things that people would say about his architecture was way before his time. It was very modern. It was very, you know, structuralistic. It's a word I just made up. It was crazy. You know, it was just different. It was nowhere near the norm. But you know, like, even though our technology in this world that we live in is so massive, we can still do things. I don't know how, but we can still do things that are before our time, so that, you know, 10, 20, 30 years from now, people are like, man, like that dude was on something in, you know, 2018. You know what I mean?
Well, just like you mentioned before, the kids are kind of going back to the old, you know, they're appreciating more of the hands-on stuff, you know. And I think maybe that's where this will end up being. I mean, the technology is just, there's just so much out there. It's just so generic and so plastic and so sterile that there's no human in it. There's nothing organic in it anymore. And it's, don't get me wrong, I like Tesla.
Yeah.
I mean, those cars are amazing. The technology in it is just, I don't even want to go there. But like when I drove up, no Buick, you know, 61 Buick, man. It's just, there's something magical about a hand, you know, just the old school, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like there's more hands-on back then than there is in things today. Everything is so mass-produced and instant.
Not worth anything. You know what I really want? This is so off topic. I really want like a Ferrari from the 80s.
Like an
old Testarossa.
Yeah, Testarossa, old Miami Vice.
Yeah, just I want something fucking
your mullet.
I mean, if I could grow hair, I would. I'd probably have that fucking like that really horrible mullet where it's like you're got the half shoe, you know, horseshoe bolt.
You know, it's funny that you say that, you know, because again, I mean, my soul, it started out with cars, and I've always, you know, I've always enjoyed racing and stuff like that. I've kind of neglected it, and I've not been able to go to races and stuff like that. Not that it really matters, but I found myself watching a lot of race videos lately, just to kind of kill some time. But you know, you talk about the car, you know, the Testarossa, but right now my thing is the 240Z. For whatever reason, I've just got this fascination with the 240Z. You know, just do a
my first car was a 280Z.
280?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I've seen one driving around a couple of times, and it's just like, man, before, you know, 15 years ago, me started driving, you know, I don't know, the car's ugly, you know, I didn't want nothing to do with it 15 years ago. But now, for some reason, that or the, you know, the old Toyota Corollas.
Oh, the AE86s?
Man, it's just something about those cars. I don't know what it is. They're not, by any means, are they attractive. They're just cool little box cars. You know, I don't know what it is. It's just I've always liked the big body cars. Anything 60s model.
Yeah.
50s, I don't really care about too much. Anything 60s, mid 70s, I'm there. You know, every car that I've had has been either, you know, early 60s to the mid 70s, but I don't know what it is now about these 240s and the little Toyota Corollas and even what's the Volkswagen?
bug?
station wagon.
Oh, the station wagon.
I can't think of
The station wagon or the van?
Not the van.
Oh,
not the van
Passat?
again. Nah, this is
I don't know anything about a Volkswagen old school.
Man, I don't really either, man. I just seen one. It was a Volkswagen. I can't think of the name of it. But anyway, it's just something. It's just different. It's different.
Yeah.
There's something different about. I always try to. Again, people don't recognize it, so they don't appreciate it. And I'm always trying to go something different. I'm always trying to do something different and try to bring that to the public or to the eye, but they're not going to appreciate it. That's just the way I am. I don't know.
You know, what if it's like follow me down this path real quick?
Go ahead.
So, you know, one thing I've learned through listening to Joe Rogan, and I've actually applied this knowledge to my personal life and all the experience I've had, is that I've enjoyed, like, say for instance, my motorcycle club years, right? Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed the club mentality, but because of the way a lot of clubs are set up, the idea behind their bike clubs is to get bigger. Mm-hmm. The whole concept is like, we got to get more numbers, we got to get chapters, we got to get big, right? That's the whole concept of bike clubs, is to build a bigger number, whether it's the 1%er side of it where you want to build bigger numbers for force, or whether it's the more MC social aspect of it where you want to build bigger numbers for profits of, like, you know, dues, money, and parties and things like that. So all the problems I always felt like came when we were trying to build bigger instead of enjoy the small clique we had, right? And so I feel like maybe a lot of what I like now is like a way to pigeonhole me into something that's super small. And into a scene of people, a clique of people,
Something real.
that's more small and manageable, instead of being like, you know what, I really like C10 trucks, and there's like 400 fucking pages and 400 clubs and 400 this. So you're jumping into the Walmart of fucking, you know, the car culture, right? But next thing you know, you're like, man, I'm really into fucking 80s specific fucking Ferraris. I'll never have one, but just in general, like, it's almost like, is he a baller? But it's probably a $30,000 car. But is he a baller? I don't know which one. Like, it's like that cool thing of, like, you know what? He's rolling down the highway. It's like, that dude's got money. Oh wait, that's the '80s. I don't know. Does he? I'm really confused here.
No.
So I think from what I was getting at is, like, I think that I want to find myself within smaller groups of people that you know, just are content with that, you know, like, they're not trying to build a bigger scene, you know what I mean? Like, oh fuck, let's get bigger, which is a contradiction of everything that I'm trying to do all the time. So
Right. Again, I think we all get kind of sidetracked on, you know, you must have this, and you must have this amount of employees, or you must have this many, you know, friends and stuff like that, and you must have this much, you know, money. And at the end of the day, it's just, you're here now. I mean, we can sit and dream all we want to, but right now you gotta enjoy what it is today, and at the same time always keep in the back of your mind on how to progress and be more successful later on. But yeah, keep it small. You know, keep it small. You never know where it's gonna go. You know, and it's more real that way. And I think if you keep your group small and if the people in your group are kind of like-minded, maybe they would want to keep it small. Or if they do invite somebody on, they're going to be real like you. You know, they're not just going to be inviting all these people. I don't know how the clubs go. Forgive me.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know how that works. But if you keep your group real and small, then they would probably be wanting to keep it the same. And if they do invite somebody in, they're going to be like you too. You know what I mean? So
I don't know. It's I probably
you're gonna enjoy that more.
Yeah.
It's gonna be stress free. You know, those are the people you're gonna want to go on cruises. You know, go on your.
Well, how much would you enjoy the fact of having like a close knit, like within Dallas Fort Worth, like a close knit community of just the painters and pinstripers and artists in our facet, to where you can like if you guys had like a once a month little hangout. Mm-hmm. Like, not you guys, like I'm part of it, but just all of us had like a once a month hangout where we all got together for one evening and had a couple beers and just talked shit like we're doing tonight on Customers.
Yep.
And talked about ideas.
Get it off, yeah. Get it off.
You know, like how beneficial do you think that would be in the long, like realistically, for just everything across the board?
I mean, definitely. You know, 10, 15, 20 people. We're all kind of like-minded. We're all feeding off of each other. Again, like you said, getting stuff off your chest, griping about this, griping about that, praising this, praising that, bragging this, bragging that. That's going to definitely, to me, I think that would help. boost everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And kind of give everybody some inspiration. But I mean, if we wanted a club with thousands of artists, I mean, we just opened up Instagram.
Yeah, but
You know, and then it turned into a battle.
It needs to be more personal, and that's what I'm saying. If
Yeah,
it's
you
a
don't-
smaller niche of people, then you feel like, say for instance, that like, and I thought about doing this, but man, realistically, I'm getting fucking sick and tired of being the fucking ringleader of shit. Like, come on, you faggots, fucking figure this shit out and
Put
fucking
your
try
boots
it.
on, come on.
Yeah. So, but no, I thought about doing like a little deal where like it's just like a, not necessarily a bar to where we can't talk, but like some place that's just chill and relaxed, and we
Yeah.
just talk. Like, you know, you could do like a, hey, let's go all hang out in the garage, and next thing you know, we're all painting. And it's like, some of us in this industry look at that as work, but we do also look at that like we would like to be around like-minded people to converse about it,
Right.
and share ideas and scenarios. But I don't necessarily want to come over your house and paint, you know?
Right. And, you know, I've thought about that too. And it's exactly what you were saying. You know, it'd be cool to have local people, you know, people that are like-minded like us, and just hang out, you know, we need that. You know, if you're going to, what better way to be around other people that have experienced, you know, or going through the same stuff that we're going through, and just hang out and share ideas. And I mean, and or paint or build something or group project, or I mean, I don't know, that sounds kind of strange, but you know what I mean, just goof off, you know. I mean, it's not that we're just trying to show off your skills or anything like that. It's nothing about that. But even if you don't, you know, just kick back, drink, have a few beers. And
I'm thinking about like our city, DFW. Like, I know I'm gonna name off a couple of people that I'm close with. So you, my buddy Darren Wenzel, Joe Ford from Infab, Custom Painters, Tanner, Pinstripe guy. There's a whole like
who's
group.
the Loki?
Loki's.
I don't know him. I don't personally know anybody
Yeah.
except for you.
Loki is a great pinstriper, but you gotta understand, like me, like there's a whole side of this industry that hates me here in Dallas. Like the other side, the people all connected to Other Side Customs, they hate me.
Oh, okay,
Like
okay,
I guess I
got you.
fucked all their wives or something. I don't know what I did,
yeah.
but you know, like there's a lot of really talented artists out there that I think could benefit from sitting around a table, having a beer, and just, even if it's just not a big group conversation, but individual conversation with other artists.
Yeah,
I think it's beneficial, man. And now that I'm saying it, I'm like, fuck, now I got to do it. You know,
sounds good.
But I mean,
Call me up, I'll be
so
here.
so many areas, like so many. I think motherfuckers in LA could do it, because those motherfuckers need to be friends, man.
Yeah.
Like, I hear so much drama from all the fucking painters in LA. It's like, dude, like there are so many fucking people.
How's there drama in paint world? I don't understand that.
Competition, man. Everybody's.
There's enough work.
There is.
There's plenty of work.
It's like
You just got to market yourself. Be nice to customers.
When you're in the LA area, there's 20 plus million fucking people there, right? There's literally more people there than our whole industry, like, providing work possible, right? But everybody's like, the problem is that nobody wants anybody else to do good, and I think that's a bad thing. And I'm not trying to speak for them, but I feel like I see that a lot. And it's just an old mentality of everybody used to fucking feed out of the same bike shows and car shows, and they're used to going there and trying to outshine each other. And now that with social media, they don't have to do that anymore. But
right
a lot
there.
of them still have that mentality of like, you know, that guy, fuck that guy, I'm better than him. Like, why do you need to be better than him? He has work and you have work, so fucking chill. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Hang out, drink a beer, and talk about how y'all can be better as a team.
Right. I'm not the best by any means, but you know, I'm another artist. You know, I'm
Yeah.
somebody there that, you know, this guy's booked up, maybe I can help. Or if I can't help you, you know, maybe this guy can help. You know, it's just, there's so much, there's enough work out there.
100%,
You know,
yeah.
it's you know, it may not be what you want. If you have to make rent for 1 month, there's plenty of work out there for you to make money.
Yeah,
You know? And if
you can
wanna
lower your prices and make whatever you want. Yeah.
Exactly. And you know, if you want to be picky, and you know, you got plenty of work to, you know, tie you into the end of the year, then you know, you can pick and choose. But there, man, you know, hand it off to somebody. But there's plenty of work out there. There's no point in trying to be. Everybody has a skill that's better than you.
Yeah.
And you have a skill that's better than the other people. You know, it's just, it's all the same game. And I don't know. It's kind of like this, like welders. You know, sometimes welders, man, they get this huge arrogance about them. And don't get me wrong, I mean, there's a huge skill about it. But these guys are like fighting.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what are you fighting about? Y'all are both great welders. Why are y'all arguing and bitching and griping on a certain, you know, style of welding? And it's just painters are the same way. They just bitch and gripe.
It's like all the mini truck guys that were built doing air ride kits like 10 years ago now all work for Gas Monkey. It's like all y'all guys hated each other. Now you're buddies on TV.
You know, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I despise those shows.
I don't watch it either.
I despise any of those shows, and it's not about them necessarily. It's nothing personal against the people that are doing it. It's just the concept overall, because I've done a couple of documentaries on certain things, and I know it's bullshit. It's all bullshit, and it's not their fault, because they're gonna profit off, not profit.
They're marketing to people that don't understand
exactly.
the craft.
They're gonna gain something from that. You know, the next day after it shows, you know, the phones aren't gonna be ringing off the walls, nothing like that. But they eventually, in the long term, it does help them and it does benefit. But it's nothing what it seems like on television. It is a pain in the ass. It's, you know, this magical scene that you just watch, and it's great. You know, they took that scene 10 times before they did the final. The magic of it is gone now, because they had to redo it, because, you know, the cigarette smoke wasn't just right, so they had to go back and have to act angry again coming through the door just to make, you know, it's all bullshit. So it just seems like that's something that I've kind of
see. I think that's going off another tangent. I think that's the and this of course is me being a critic and not a skilled person, but I think that being a real artistic minded person that enjoys cinema, enjoys the way movies and visual production moves you, is that you find artistic ways to get that in a natural habitat instead of recreating it. You know, like I used to always say, like, you know, why do these dudes, like, especially the bike ones, why do they got to argue like that? You know, I've never been in a bike shop and it not create natural drama. Just let the camera roll and just find the spot to get it at the right angle.
Exactly. And I promise you, like, you know, the people that are, you know, being filmed, whether it be Gas Monkey or Iron Resurrection or the, you know, OCC, whoever it may be, they don't like it either. You know, if they want to argue, they're going to argue, and they're going to leave it organic and let it be real. But then when you go back and you got to tell them to argue again, they don't want that crap. So it's not their fault. It's the production crew's fault. But it gives this persona to the public of, oh, that's the way it is. No, this is great. And it's not. That's not real life. That's not real shop life.
Yeah.
You know, shop life is, there is an argument. He just threw a wrench across the shop, and that's it. If you caught it, you caught it with a camera. If you didn't, then move on. You know, but people think that that's the way they've. I get it, ratings, but
well, I mean, like if there was a way for more people to profit off creating their own content that way, like, I'm not saying that they can't with YouTube, but I mean, when you associate the amount of income that or the amount of, like, investment you have to do in, like, production equipment and this and that, and time is the one thing that the world does not respect.
Yeah.
They do not respect time. They do not understand the concept of time. That you know, like today, for instance, like I got to the shop here late. I slept late. You know, this whole weekend, you know, I've been sketching, and that's another thing. It goes back to my thing of time. Like, I don't sketch at shop. So when I go home and I'm in a comfortable environment and I'm chilling and I, you know, listen to music or a podcast, and next thing you know, I'm sketching, and then 5 hours go by. 5 fucking hours go by with me sketching paint jobs.
Yep.
And even for me, like, you know, as a person who used to work in a shop that was like, they used to sand parts, that jumped at the chance to take the trash out just so I could not sand parts for 10 minutes. When I looked at sketching a bike, I'm like, fuck, this is way better. I'm getting paid to do this, but 10 years later, I'm like, hey, dude, this is fucking work. This is 5 hours of my life that I could have been hanging my wife, doing something I'm, you know, on my own time, or doing anything else, but I'm drawing. And, you know, it becomes this deal where you're just constantly, like,
the stress of second guessing yourself the whole time, you know, on top of all that.
Time is so crazy, man. Like, you know, and even with this podcast, like, I don't necessarily, like, I like doing this. This is fun to me. But, dude, like, what is it? What time is it? It's fucking,
who cares?
It's 10:54 on a Monday night right now. I got to be at work tomorrow, right? So this is time that I'm taking out to do this. It's your time taking out to do this. Everybody's time. It's like, you know, it's kind of overlooked sometimes how people don't realize how much time is involved and like how much my wife is dealing with that, how much my kids deal with that, you know. But at the same time,
Yeah.
it's also like I could just be sitting here working. So
Right. Time is my enemy. It always slips away. Just even the design work, when you're doing stuff, if you're doing a logo, an emblem, if you're trying to change something, do something, I mean, people don't look at the back end of it. People don't look at the behind the scenes of what you got to create in order to, they don't look at the renderings. They think it just somehow just magically appears.
Yeah.
Like they just, like it's something off the shelf of Walmart, I guess you would say. It's nobody takes that in consideration. All they're looking at is the final product of whatever the paint job may be. They don't think about everything behind, and that takes a lot of time. Just like you said, it takes a lot of time. Me, something different is, not that it's different, but I'm one guy, just like you, you're one guy, but my thing to get me out of I guess a repetition or just getting out of my head is I always pick up and deliver parts. Always. I don't have anybody come to me. I always do that. And give or take within 75 miles, but that gives me a chance to get out. It gives me a chance.
I used to drive to San Francisco and back to pick up and deliver parts. So
it gives you a chance, even though it's like
gets you out of the shop too.
It gets you out of the shop, and even though that you do need it, it gets you out and you can think. Mm-hmm. And I call it filing. I file everything that's gone on in my life, whether it be personal, who I've got, coming up next week, who's going to be, what projects I have right now to get done more efficient ways. So, but that takes time, no matter what, even though it's an escape for me. And I think, God, I need this. And, Mondays and Fridays, usually when I try to do my deliveries, one or the other. And before you know it, though, you don't think it's going to take that much time. Before you know it, day is gone. Yeah. You're not going to get anything done. Your plan was to go deliver for half a day, come back, get some airbrush work done, or get some welding done, or whatever it may be. But it's time.
Yeah.
And it goes by so fast.
Well, so what I was thinking is like, when I started kind of changing my structure of how I operated, I was like, if I make my prices for certain things not necessarily less obtainable, the word's not less obtainable, but more like they had to earn it, right? They had to earn the money to pay me to do stuff. Then that made them value what I did for them more. So it makes what the brand and the product of what I'm giving them is more valuable to the owner of it. So whether it's a paint job on a bike or whether it's a paint job on a helmet or something like that, it now has a sentimental value to it on top of a financial value to it that I think is what is the beginning processes of creating an art form that's one of its own. Like I said, I don't know it, but I feel like the way my services or my art or whatever you want to call it has been perceived now is the fact that people appreciate it more. And I think it's because of how I commanded them to appreciate it more. If that makes sense. Like
right. It's a persona that you're giving off. I was told, and I'm still told to this day, I've got a couple of customers that got stupid money. But when they do hire me to do a job, no matter what, I still give them an honest price,
Yeah.
And I always give them an honest price, something that's worth it to me, something that I know that I'm not going to regret,
Same thing with me. Like,
yeah, you just, I'm not here to rip nobody's heads off. There's plenty of work for everybody. There's plenty of stuff out there, and I just give an honest price. But it's always so tempting because they're like, man, you're too cheap. You're too cheap. Marker, you're not setting yourself aside. You're not giving yourself a good name. If you sell yourself so cheap, people are going to think you're cheap, and it's like, I understand that, but that's not me. I'm not here to rip nobody's heads off because I literally enjoy doing this work, and I want that opportunity to be able to do that. So I don't want to.
So let's do a real quick rundown of being self-employed, being what we do. Like you paint baggers and bikes and stuff like that as well. So let's just say a number, right? So big wheel bagger, which is kind of where a lot of the bigger money projects are going to come from. So let's just say $8,000, right? Which sometimes I'm okay with an $8,000 bagger paint job, and sometimes I'm like, dude, it's not even worth my time.
Yeah.
But $8,000. So how much to do? Let's just say we're doing a two-tone with graphics, some airbrush work, not covered, but just a tasteful design throughout the whole bike, right? So $2,000. Okay, so out of the $8,000, on my side, I would think that price-wise, financially for the materials, like being fair to even the shit that's like a universal material, like paint thinner and sandpaper, that we're not like, I'm going to buy a 50 pack of sandpaper. I'm going to use 5 of them,
right,
or 10 of them, or something.
But the
like
initial
that.
cost,
yeah,
I mean, it's so $2,500 right off the bat.
Yeah, so you're looking. I've always associated with a full bagger. I'm looking at close to $2,000 in quality materials and resupply of the universal materials like thinner, reducer, clear coat, sandpaper and tape and all that shit like that. Not just, and then when you get in those Heartlet, people are like, hey man, I want fucking mysterious red. I'm like, all right, well, that's
at minimum.
That's
$550, $600.
Yeah, like that's $600 for the color, dude. Just to do that's for a quart.
I could do a fender in a bag.
Yeah. So let's just say $2,000. Let's just be fair, not over the top, not too low. $2,000 out of the $8,000, right? So off the top, that's that. Now we're looking at a $6,000 paint job, right? Let's say that $6,000 paint job. Me working 100% on that bike is about 2 weeks worth of work, right? 2 weeks, meaning I start it, I primer it, but we also know that with dry times and the process of doing the paint job, you need more. So like you'll paint it, you'll primer it, and then you'll let it sit for a couple of days to let the primer cure. You'll sand it, you'll do this, you'll do that, and then finally you'll clear it, and then you'll let it sit for a week to let the clear cure.
And you're gonna have something unexpected.
Yeah.
I mean,
so. But to really boil it down to it, I feel like you'd have 2 solid weeks, and that's not extensive artwork. That's like 2 days worth of artwork, right? The rest of it is prep, sand, body work, whatever the case may be. So 2 weeks, that means that you're making, $3,000 a week, right? That's good money, right? And then you turn around and you maybe you're fortunate enough you can do that out of your garage or something like that. So you don't have a shop, you don't have rent at a shop, you don't have all that shit. And then you take the government, you let them jump in board. Yeah. And now, as a self-employed person, they want roughly 30% of your income. So what's that?
You always try to think 30, 35. It's just.
Let's just say that's the bike. That bike only is the only thing you did for a month. So it's $6,000. So now you're looking at 333. What's that fucking add up to? $1,800, right? I think 9. Yeah, so $1,800. So out of that $6,000, now you made $1,800 of it's gone, and that's just taxes. That's not like 401k. That's not fucking health insurance. That's not nothing. So now
light bill, you're dealing with $4,200. That's all you got left.
And mind you, we're not even talking about like a shop, like a business. We're just saying you have a normal house and you're doing this out of the house. So out of that $6,000, now you're at fucking $4,200, and which is not a bad living for a lot of people.
But you're still dealing with 2 weeks.
Hopefully you can get more work done in that time. Hopefully you can do a lot of things. And I know most people that are charging that kind of money can't really swing that out of their house. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And especially, just the simple of space. Period. People, it's like me, I struggle.
Oh, wait. Let me rephrase that. If you're the only one doing that work, I'm thinking 2 weeks. Because last time I did a full bagger, my brother worked here. So I'm like, hey, sand this down. So if I'm doing all that work myself, it's probably a three week, maybe. Right. I don't know, man. It's probably a fucking month job.
It's a lot of people.
8 hours a day.
Yeah. And then at the end of the day, we're still going to deliver in 2 weeks. If we tell them 2 weeks, it's going to be 2 weeks. Regardless, if we're out here till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, we're going to be out here till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. We've already opened up to it because this has got to be done in 2 weeks in case there's something, that we absolutely cannot control. But, it's a lot of work. And, again, they're getting something one-off. They're not buying it out of the store.
Let's back up. I thought of some more expensive. So I had to replace my orange marker. My black is out. I needed a couple different silvers. So
there's $800 there.
There's those markers are $7 a piece. Yep. Today, I'm like, fuck, man. I was like printing out this picture to do this airbrush thing. I was like, fuck, my printer ink's out. I had to go buy $41 worth of ink to print a fucking image that I then had to cut out with an X-Acto bleed, which these things are expensive. Yep. There's just so many expenses. Like it's unreal what it boils down to.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like, I think I reached out to you a couple months ago. I mean, I had a job. It was done tomorrow. I wasn't going to have enough of the transfer or the vinyl as far as the stencil paper. And I was like, man, nobody, because I usually get my stuff out of a place out in Canada. And I couldn't get a hold of them. I couldn't figure out what it was. So that's why I reached out to you. Hey, man, somebody here local that I can get the yellow, the
vinyl,
the stencil vinyl. And then, but I mean, right there, I mean, I don't know how, I never ended up getting it from them. The guy from Canada actually got back with me, but that's $100 right there. And then you're 7 days, at least 5 to 7 days, or I am. I didn't have the convenience of just driving down the street, but then, you got transfer paper. I mean, all those little things, I mean, even though they do last a while, but I mean, that's, $200 a pop, $100 transfer paper is what, $85, $100, a roll.
Yeah.
But,
dude, this new like FBS tape, you seen this shit right here? So
I've seen it, but I have not used it.
This tape right here, I started using this KTU gold tape from FBS because when you're doing a lot of these panel jobs, like you're retaping over like painted stuff,
you can see through.
Not so much that you can see through, it's just low tack. So what happens is when you put like a real high tack thing on top of those other things, it sometimes want to rip some of the candies out. And so this stuff is a lot less tacky. This shit right here is $20 for one roll. And I just started associating this. That's why my prices are where I'm at, because instead of like stressing out about materials, like I'm like, all right, so I know every helmet, I'm going to buy one roll of this.
Include that in with the price.
So I include that in with the price. I know I'm going to buy one roll of that, and I might have to buy another marker. I might have to buy this. I might have to that, but I know for sure I'm buying this.
Yep.
And
you're exactly right. I mean, a lot of not to cut you off, but a lot of body shops that I know of that I've talked, when they estimate out a job, whether it be a custom job, it's boom, one roll of 320, one roll of 180, all the different, they're going to charge you for the complete roll. Now, whether they use it all or not, they don't, but no matter what, that's the price you're going to get charged.
Yeah.
And that's what you should do, especially with that, because I mean, that's an expense that it's hard to swallow sometimes,
It's hard to swallow, but I found that it's more easier to work with like products and materials that make the job easier and more enjoyable and less of a chaotic experience.
Of a headache. Yeah.
But with that comes a cost, and it's just part of this whole market of like everybody's trying to find their way of getting a piece of the pie. Like I said, I made this comment so many times throughout this podcast, and the people I know, is that like I find that the only way to really make a really, really good living in our industry is to sell shit to the people that are making a living in our industry. The guy on the ground. You
almost have to be a paint. You have to be a paint supplier.
I see the paint on your fingernails right now. It's like it's not us. It's the guy that walks in with clean hands that haven't touched paint in weeks, that's making a better living than us. Yep. And maybe I'm hating a little bit, but at the same time, I think that we have to find a way to be honest with ourselves and charge the way we need to be charging for the skill sets that we have, the time we have. And man, like, this is supposed to be a fun job. Like, people say like, man, you got a badass job. I want to do what you want to do, or what you do. And it's like, in your head, you're supposed to be like, yeah, dude, I got a badass job. Not like, man, I wish I was you with your dental insurance and your fucking 9 to 5 and your structure.
Yeah. We was laughing last night. I told my wife, it's threatening to sleet and snow tonight, and or ice over, whichever. And she was like, yeah, well, if it's sleeting, if it gets too icy, I might just call in. Well, we can't do that.
Yeah.
They can call in and stay at home, but we can't do that. We still got work. We don't have an excuse. You know what I mean? We have to, in order to keep on top of the bills and keep on top of the customers, and because they don't care if it's snowing or sleeting. They don't, But of course, in your instance, if there's a rendering or something, no, you're not going to just sit at home and just do nothing all day tomorrow if it ices over, even though you may not be able to make it up here. But you're going to sit at home, you're going to do a rendering, you're going to do something, you're going to call customers, you're going to write down a list, you're going to figure out your bills. You may not be painting that bike, or you may not be laying down tape, but you're going to be doing something that has to do with business, during that ice day.
It's hard to check out and not feel guilty.
Right, exactly. But and sometimes we need those ice days, because if we didn't have that ice day, some of those things would never get done.
Well, for me right now,
we're almost forced to do it.
Basically, the months of October through February is video game season for me. So basically, it's just like there's a lot of like really engaging video games right now that like literally last night I was up till 2:30 in the morning playing a video game. But I like it because you know what? That's the only time that I'm not, you know, my friend's wife called me out one day. She goes, "You're a worrier." I'm like, "Fuck no, I'm not. I'm not a worrier." And like, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a fucking worrier. That's all I do is worry about shit. Like I worry about everybody's happiness. Like I don't want no one to be mad at me. I want everybody to enjoy everything I do for them. So it's like you're constantly worrying about things and
But are we worried about what people think of us? And I know they say you're not supposed to. But you have to. I mean, that's your reputation on the line. You know what I mean? You got to.
I just want people to not so much like I'm an asshole. Like I'm a big asshole. Like that's just who I am because I have opinions. That's why I'm an asshole.
Right.
And I think that a lot of people are expected to be quiet. They're not expected to share. They're supposed to be one thing. But I've earned, in my mind, I've earned my voice in my industry.
Right.
On both of them, whether it's the paint or the motorcycle industry, I feel like I've earned the right to say fuck no or fuck you or fuck that. You know what I mean?
You're right. Yeah.
And you know, when it comes to like just general things, it's like, you know, I do want people to like me, but I just want people to know me. They don't have to agree with me. They don't have to like me.
We're artists. They don't have to.
You know, like there's people I don't like, but they're like, hey man, like I'm not. I think what you're doing is like I respect what you're doing. I'm just. Like you're kind of a, you know, you're kind of full of yourself, or you're kind of this. You're kind of a personality that I don't vibe with.
Right.
It's not that I don't like you. It's just that if I had to choose, I'd rather not hang out with you. You know what I mean?
And that's true. And you know, you don't want to click with somebody like that. You don't want to be around people. I mean, not that
I don't
it's
like
a bad
negative
thing.
people. You know, I don't like people that are always looking for. I don't like people that point. You know what I mean? Like people that point at everything else in the world, whether it's other people and their success, or which
that's a cancer.
Yeah,
that just brings you down. I mean, you're falling into their trap because they don't feel like they're successful or they don't feel like they're doing their goals or accomplishing their situations. They want to bring you down because they're doing it in front of you. Oh, look at them. You know, you don't need that kind of stuff. But those people are out there.
Yeah.
You know, they're you know, the place, bringing back the old hot rod shop, you know, that I worked at. I mean, it was saturated with them. Everybody was, if they weren't sucking up to the man, they were just belittling everybody underneath them. You know what I mean? And that's just the way it was. And that's that whole. And
it's a pecking order, man.
It's exactly what it is. You know. And I was on both sides of it. You know, I was down as the grunt down on the floor. You know, doing the grunt work, and then I was also up in the management side of it. And I saw both sides of it, and it was a joke. I mean, it's not even that it's a joke because that's a way of life for them. It made me so sick to my stomach. I had some really, really great experiences with them, especially the owner. The owner was cool as hell, but there was a lot of great experiences. But it just got to the point to the end to where I was just sick to my stomach. I couldn't be around those people. The negativity, the backstabbing, and I think that's a way with every business. You know, I mean, even in the bike shop that we had, you know, we had two investors. You got you know, one guy, one business owner that was, you know, going off and doing his own thing and, you know, abusing some money, and then you had the other investor that was, you know, trying to stay on top of it, and they were always battling. And here I am back in the shop. I got my tools. I'm over trying to build bikes, and they're always, you know, it's just there's. It almost seems like you can't have enough good without enough evil, and they have to fight back and forth. But we don't need that. That's not something or me anyway. I don't choose to have that around in my life anymore, especially after that. I don't need that. It's childish. It's selfish. I mean, everybody gets angry. Everybody has bad days. But when it comes to that's an everyday life for you, just because that's where you work and who you want. You know, it's just.
Well, I think that a lot of people, you know, myself included, like we find ourselves being comforting. Like me and you are hanging out, like, and we have other mutual friends. Like, man, you hear what fucking so and so was doing? Like, he's an idiot. And even though it's not bad.
Yeah, right.
It's still like not good to start.
It's like you're throwing shade on somebody. You know?
Yeah, you start creating that back. You just start creating doubt in people, right? And instead of just like not spreading anything, not gossiping, not putting ideas into people's heads about people. It's just. You know, so every time
you're not planting that seed. You know?
Yeah. Every time I find myself being more gossipy, I'm starting to be more mindful. Like, you know what, man? Like, everything I'm saying right now is just an opinion, and it sucks that nowadays opinions like overshadow truths. You know what I mean? So It's like if I'm sitting here just giving in to this idea of just talking about what's going on instead of like, hey, and I'm not talking about this because the person that's involved is not here as well to talk, reciprocate it.
Right.
I don't know, man. Like, I just feel like that's a real toxic thing in like work environments where you have like multiple people working there. You always click up. Like I said, everybody's always taking the big thing and downsizing, trying to make their own little group, and they're against the group over here because like everybody works at Walmart. Well, fuck produce, man. Those dudes are fucking assholes over there. Tire Lube Express is where it's at. Fuck those guys. Fuck housewares. You know what I mean?
And that goes back to like your clubs. You want to downsize it. You want to make it a small group, and the bigger the group doesn't work out necessarily because there's so much drama in that. But then when you downsize it and you have a small group, y'all click.
Yeah.
But now you get a whole bunch of small groups.
Yeah.
Into one area, that's when it's chaos.
Yeah,
and that's the way it is, and I've experienced that too.
That's the way of the world.
That's the way. And I wasn't involved. I was not about that. The last thing I was going to do is get involved in that and ass kiss and do all this. I mean, I was.
Well, think about it like this.
I could see everybody coming in and out ass kissing. I was getting.
You've played a role.
I gave up.
You've played a role in those type of societal situations where you're very important, right? Whether you're creating, the fabrication or you're creating art, so you're important to the process of what's going on. So you're not fighting for like your purpose to be there, right? You know what I mean? So like guys like yourself and I never
felt like I needed to try to prove myself.
Exactly.
It's like,
I'm like,
hey, what
dude,
I can do. I'll work my. If you don't like, I mean, I'm not like. Not going to mention any names, but I'm not like him. He's over here, he's doing everything he can to get on his knees and do everything he can to please you. It's like, hey, you know what I can do. You know who I am. This is the way I am, and I'm not going to stoop that low. And I know you don't like that I'm not stooping that low, but so be it. I'm not going to do it. And I just couldn't. And everybody else around me was doing that. It just made me so sick to watch grown men do that.
Dude,
it's disgusting.
Men are fucking petty, dude. Like I remember, like I said,
people say women are bad. These men, these grown men. I mean,
it's bad.
It's horrible. Where's your dignity? Where's your self-dignity? Just your own self-dignity,
It's tough, man. Like I said, it's tough because we're all trying to find our place, and we all want to feel important. We all want to feel like, like how many people have you seen quit their job in the lifetimes that you've had jobs that, like, in their head, when they quit, this place is going out of business.
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean?
Yeah,
fuck this place, and I think
you'll be replaced in 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's like most of us are like, and me, like I've felt like that about places, and I realized that hey, they're still in business, and it puts your ego in check. You realize, you know what, man, like I'm important. I'm the most important thing in my life.
Right.
But in the grand scheme of things, like I'm just a part of the puzzle for everything else.
I mean. Now, on the reverse aspect of it, as I guess a business owner, somebody who would own that particular style of business, it's like, I was a good cog. I was a big cog in the whole, scheme of things that would help make things work. But I'm not somebody that's just going to make that business go under. I mean, it's not, and I wouldn't wish that upon it either. But, regardless of how talented you are, there's always still somebody going to be there talented, either as talented or maybe just a little bit, or maybe even above you, and they're going to kind of help carry that load. And then they may change their views or their direction of where they're going to take that shop. Maybe it's no longer this crazy, wild, edgy type cars. Now they're going to go a little bit more traditional, and old school. And there's a seat for that. There's a huge clientele for that. There's not very much clientele for the stuff that I enjoy. The things I like doing, there's not a very big clientele. I'm not here just being selfish. I'm being a prima donna. I want to do what I want to do. This is because I'm trying to get it out. But when it comes to the everyday guy, they like just the traditional old school one color narrowed back half, 57 Bel Air, and that's you're gonna have more buyers, in that scene. You're not gonna have very many buyers for my scene, but I think as long as I continue to do that and do all this oddball stuff and just continue working at it, I think eventually, as we'll all find that niche, we'll find that thing that's going to capture us, and we're going to continue to focus on it. And, who knows, we may be the next Alex Gray or, guy, but in order to find that, you have to keep experimenting. You have to keep doing different things. You have to stay bored. You have to stay bored. You have to stay unmotivated. Even though not being motivated or not motivated, wrong word, inspired. I think it's a good thing that we're not inspired all the time, because it makes us search for more inspiration. You know, the creative block, I hate it. It's miserable. I think life's over, but it's a good thing because it gets me out of that complacent feel. You know, I go out and I'll start searching for more inspiration, and I'll always discover something new. And I think, why didn't I do this a month ago? Why don't I continue to do this? Just search around, you know, just Google stuff and, you know, Instagram, just search around and just get all this inspiration. You never know where it's going to lead you. You know? And I think that's what this mainstream art thing is kind of losing grasp, you know, but I don't know.
I mean, how many
be true to
like,
yourself.
When OG Abel and all the lowrider influences like kind of took over the clothing culture and custom paint culture, like how many times did you see people recreating other dudes' art like verbatim like that? You know what I mean? Like just direct copies. And I was like, man, like,
but
and there was a point in time where I was like, you know what, I'd love to do an OG Abel piece, but I was also really like mentally I wasn't really understanding how much I was belittling myself and belittling the artist himself by trying to redo his shit in that manner. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the sad part about it is there's people that can sleep at night copying somebody's work. I mean, I'm not saying that just say this is a scenario. You know, you have his work out there, and there's so many people out there that are going to try to copy his stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, well, some people will market off of that. You know, some people will actually make money off of that and start using that print, or maybe buy it from him, or change it up just slightly, you know, to where it's not the exact replica. But they're not being creative, you know what I mean? They're just robbing somebody else's artwork. When what our job is to use that as inspiration and create our own style. You know what I mean? You know, this dude's been, I don't know much about his history, but I'm sure he's definitely, you know, 15, 20 years in the art world.
Oh, for sure.
And so he's got a huge following, a huge name. So it doesn't matter what this guy does, people are going to follow him.
Yeah.
You know, us, we're just peants. You know, we got another 10 years before we can just have all this following no matter what we did. You know, it's like talking about Tool and Maynard. You know, if he starts singing rock or rap, you know, we're supposed to like it. We're going to follow that. You know what I mean? So you just, I think it's time. But when you have people just ripping other artwork off and then trying to make money off of that, I mean, it's
like if I was gonna copy someone's art myself, I would do it for myself. You know what I mean? Like
by yourself, yeah.
I would copy. Like I would
exactly.
Like, you know what? I really like this OG Abel piece. I'm gonna paint that, and I'm gonna keep it for myself, and just as I did it as a practice piece for myself, and I just wanted to see.
Yes.
I wanted to challenge myself as to accomplishing his look and his style. Mm-hmm. But it'd be different if I was like, hey, man, there's this cool artist I saw on Instagram. You want to do this on the back of your fucking fender? Like, that'd be cool, right? Like, cool. Like, all right, I'm going to do that on there. And at that point, I'm like, that's not cool. And I mean,
that's like Tattoo Flash. You know, you just thumbing through a catalog. It's like, I can't do that, man. Somebody else.
But it's like, it's a slippery slope, because at the same time, like when I like airbrush people, or like say a chick, like I would go look at Instagram chicks and be like, oh, okay, I like her pose and her this.
Right.
Screenshot, fucking bam, now it's on a thing. So it's like the same concept, but it's hard to say I mean, it's a really fine line there, because it's like that chick might get super pissed, like, fuck, you just took my picture, you didn't give me fucking any money, you know, which I understand.
Yeah.
And then there also might be like, that's fucking cool that you know, did that, you know, like they're not looking
different
at
mindset.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it'd be different if I like took a picture of you and put it on a t-shirt and then sold it nationwide.
Yeah.
But if I took a picture of you and airbrushed it on one item and I put it out there, I mean, in some ways it's still bad, but at the same time, it's like I didn't make millions of dollars off of this thing. It ain't like I'm making more money than you off of your picture. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know. It's a slippery slope.
Well,
man.
You know, I have kind of went through that whole experience about 2 years ago. I did a paint job on the truck, and come to find out, I don't know if I can mention any names. I'm not going to mention the shop, but the actual Shaquille O'Neal, he contracted a shop out of Miami to wrap his truck, the exact same paint job that I custom painted hand by hand on the side of this other truck, you know. And then people were all tagging me, hey man, look, Shaq, you know, he's robbing your stuff. This shop out here, you know, he's not even giving you credit. This is your paint job, but they're doing it as a wrap. And, you know, it's like, okay, that's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's not, it's, you know, I'm not I'm kind of flattered, you know.
It's almost like if you could find a way.
I'm ashamed. I'm kind of sad that Shaq don't know my name.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what I would.
I'm ashamed of that, or not that I'm ashamed. I'm kind of disappointed in that, you know, and he never will. But that's cool. But to me personally, and to everybody else that is notifying me of this, I feel kind of flattered, you know, that people actually care. That, you know, but
dude, I always feel
it feels
flattered.
good, you know.
I always feel, dude, and I say this all the time, man. I see people that. Not so much in the dyna scene, but in my big wheel days, dude, I have so many people that ripped off paint jobs for me, right? Like people that are on a higher stature than me that would like rip my shit off. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like,
Right.
And one of them used to use this hashtag called top of the paint game all the time. I'm like, motherfucker, you're the top of the paint game, but you're fucking stealing my idea.
Yeah.
You're using my fucking paint job like line for line.
You on top, yeah.
But at the same time, like, it didn't bother me to the point where I said anything. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, I'm gonna look like, like I'm still, like you just said, I'm still flattered that my shit is that.
Well, you look weak. If you bring it up, you start looking weak.
Yeah,
you know, it's just, and it's not.
You like that affected you, like, oh, you're not doing that well, huh?
If it mattered, if it really mattered, and if it was that big of a deal, I think somebody would bring it up to you, and then they would even, you know.
Like I said, to me, it would only bother me if I painted a helmet and Simpson, which I know Simpson wouldn't, but if some company was to take that paint job on that helmet and mass produce it and put it out there for people to buy reproduced. Yeah. That would bother me. Right. But if somebody that listens to this podcast or someone that follows my Instagram or someone who just saw a helmet they like, reproduced it,
it's flattering.
I'm like, hey, man, it's not bad, dude.
Because you're not going to do another one.
Yeah, I'm not.
You know, you're not trying to make a living off that design. You know, that was that one design. You know, that's it. You moved on to something, you know, other things.
The only thing that bothers me when it comes to paint jobs, and this is my own thing, is if I don't charge what I should have charged and I do something really badass that I could have made more money on.
Yep. And I always do that too. And I'll regret it. It's like, damn, man, I could have charged, you know, X amount of dollars more, this, that, and the other. But then I'm thinking, you know what? The reward was having fun.
Yeah.
You know, and I got to express whatever I needed to express, try some different things, experiment.
So what's up, man? So what else you got going? You got any plans for next year? Anything you're kind of
like I mentioned earlier, you know, I'm going to start trying to get a little bit more out in the public. I'm going to start trying to focus more on my style of work. You know, I'm going to start doing more of my own personal paintings.
Have you thought of like pursuing more of like your own like exhibits, is trying to like build your own kind of content to put out a show of some sorts? Like, I don't know the ways to get to the top of the art.
You know, I don't really, and, you know, again, I've only been in this a couple of years. I'm just kind of just running off, you know, of what I've seen. I had some work in the Maddox. There was a gallery out in Fort Worth at one time, and it did pretty good. I got a lot of response off of it. So, I mean, I don't know if there's going to be that much of there's not going to be any kind of, you know, feedback. Well, maybe it'll get the word out. You know what I mean? I guess get a little bit more exposure. I've got a couple of, you know, fairly large sculptures I got coming up that I need to have done by the end of this year. But as far as the beginning of the year, man, I've got, you know, a couple of bike jobs lined up. Again, start hitting some more shows, doing some more personal work. Just kind of playing it by ear, you know, doing my thing, just having fun, you know. So, and I think that's what I value more.
You still got the jig to do the pointy tanks for me?
I do.
Cool, because I got another one for you.
Nice, bring it on. It may take me a little bit to figure out which way you know.
Dude, trust me, this job, it's a close friend of mine. It's a big wheel thing that I've been needing to build a bike for the last 2 years. And I got busy, and then he got busy, and now it's finally kind of starting to
life catches up now.
We're starting to cross paths again, and so I got to get on this project, and I need to do another one of those tanks. Dude, I bought all my welding shit, and I've been learning how to weld, but fuck, man, like I was saying earlier, man, it's really tough to pay the craft the attention it deserves to learn the craft and be a professional at it. It's really tough, man. Yep. That's why, like, I encourage everybody that's in their 20s that doesn't have kids or massive responsibilities to just
focus,
bury themselves in fucking opportunities like this, man. Because
focus.
Dude, I am so envious of your ability to kind of play in both worlds. You know
I'm not a master of any of them, but I love, you know, dipping into all of it. You know what I mean?
That's cool. Well, hey, we'll wrap this up real quick. We're already pretty into it. So, what's all your social media?
Just Chad Mahone. Chad Mahone at Facebook. Just search it up. Instagram. That's it. I mean, nothing special.
Nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy.
Well, I appreciate you coming out, man.
I enjoyed it.
We'll have a good night.
Hey, you too.
All right, buddy.
Appreciate it.
What's up, everyone? I hope you enjoyed that. I want to thank Chad for coming back out. or just coming out in general. Because like I said, I reached out to him at the beginning of our podcast endeavors, and he finally made the way to the shop. So thank you, Chad, and hope you enjoyed the conversation as well as I did. And I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. I mean, it really was just a couple of airbrush custom painters, just, I guess, hashing out thoughts and ideas and shit. So hopefully you guys can gain something from that, and really just have a good time and enjoy it. So once again, I would like to thank our sponsors for continuing to support this podcast and keeping it going for you. Don't forget that D&D, you can get 20% off this month, November, with obviously being a veteran. You got to be a veteran, former or current. You need to call 844 D&D pipe, and you can check out all the great deal, or check out the 20% off that you're going to get for being all that stuff. Sorry, I've had a couple of beers, so I'm trying to work this right now. Sorry, Rusty. Anyway, like I said, check them out. 20% off Veterans Day deal. Also, if you're not a veteran, don't forget to go to D&D, D&D exhaust.com, and you can order exhaust systems and also put in the offer code FASTLIFE at checkout, or just simply call 844 D&D pipe, mention the Fast Life podcast on the deal, and get a 5% discount on any purchase that you make. Also want to thank Texas Performance MC, TexasPerformanceMC.com, as well as on Instagram. And don't forget to wish Mark a happy birthday. Not sure which day it is, but I know it's coming up. Hopefully Facebook will take care of me on that one. Also, I'd like to thank Paint Huffer Metal Flake on Instagram, and painthuffer.com if you want to get set up with any of the products they sell: flakes, pearls, tapes, swag, all that good stuff. I also want to thank Horsepower Inc. For everything they do for us. HorsepowerInc.net, Horsepower Inc. on Instagram, and Horsepower Inc. Indie on Facebook. Don't forget to check them out for all the big bore throttle bodies, exhaust systems, air cleaners, and performance V-twin servicing and stuff. Thank you. Appreciate it. Don't forget to check us out on Patreon, which you can catch a link on our our Instagram page. Oh, also, I wanted to bring this up. Like, we started a Facebook page for the podcast, and I'm going to try to maintain it. It's really tough, but I guess if I get more engagement on it, it'll be more beneficial on there. And I'd like to use it as more of a group to like kind of like talk about stuff. Like, you listeners, tell me what you like, what you don't like. Not sure if I'm going to give a fuck about what you don't like. I will. I'm just playing with you. But yeah, I think it'd be a cool place to kind of interact with more people than I do now. So in a more intimate setting where, you know, I don't have any clothes on and you don't have any, I mean, I'm sorry. It's just a more better place for us to kind of hash out ideas and kind of share thoughts and whatnot. So I don't know what the fuck it's called. I think it's just the Fast Life Podcast on Facebook. Just look it up. I don't know. But if you on Facebook, check it out. Maybe we can make that into something kind of cool. If not, no big deal. Like I said, see you guys Houston this weekend if you're going to be there. For the rest of you guys, have a good week. Going to try to have another podcast this week. I think I got some ideas planned out, and should be a really stacked month with podcasts, so be ready. You guys rock on.